And we are back. Couch Company Podcast. I'm John. With me, as always, Tyler.
For the last time this year, and then we'll see about 2023.
That's not true.
Is it not?
Don't we have another episode next week?
All right, but that's then we'll renegotiate the contract.
Then we'll renegotiate.
Okay. I'm sorry. Hi,
we have a
I'm
special guest with us today. We have Jeff back on the podcast with us. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Very excited for this episode. Just like I was the top 25 games of all time, this is a little introspective. It lets a little personality come out. So I'm very excited to learn more about you guys and to be on the podcast. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Happy you're here, man. We were looking at our list, and we're just like, we need Jeff. We need more games. We need somebody that does this. And you do this, so this is good.
Yeah, 100%. So I think a lot of people really enjoyed the top 25 games. There was a lot of thought put in by Jeff and love. And so I think
made us raise the bar a little bit.
It's like, oh, shit.
What it means to prepare for a podcast. Yeah.
But I thought we had to have him on for this one. So as Tyler alluded to, today is the Couch Company's Game of the Year show, essentially. So the Game Awards did okay.
They're all right.
But now this is the definitive version, honestly.
This is what the people have been waiting for.
This is what the people have been waiting for.
The whole year, yeah.
So pretty much how this is going to run down is we have our own couch categories. A little alliteration there for you. You got to love that. And then, we'll talk it out. We'll pick a winner for each category. And then at the end, we're going to list our top 5, as is tradition, games of the year. And number one will be the game of the year.
Yeah. Well, this year, sure.
Tradition has to start sometime.
That's a good point.
Every tradition has started at some point. Do you know that?
Yeah. Yes.
Jeff, you with me here?
I'm picking it up, but I think there's an ounce of dedication there.
Yeah.
And as soon as you miss a year, you start to question the tradition. So if you are starting a tradition, that's at least 3-year commitment. You might be able to skip the 4th year. 5th year, though, you got to bring it back.
Okay. That's an interesting formula. 3 years required.
Yes.
We got 2 years under our belt, which is pretty good.
We do have 2 years. We have a couple of traditions of our own where we do a Pokemon list every year.
Yep.
Yeah. You guys got 2 years on that.
We got 2 years on that. So Gen 3 is going to be our last one where we know what we're talking about. Off a cliff. But yeah, check that episode out. That was a funny one. That was a video one. You can watch us look at
I don't know why Spotify let us do videos, but we could do videos on Spotify now.
It was awesome.
That's, We'll have some fun with that in the new year.
All right. Anyways, without further ado, let's get crack-a-lackin'.
Yes.
With this list here. So Tyler's got a hat.
I got a hat.
A top hat.
A whole bunch of... Well, you got to be festive for
holidays. 100%.
So anyway, we have... how many categories we have? I didn't count. We have quite a few categories.
15?
We're going to do. Sure. Yeah, we have 15 categories.
Give or take.
Right. give or take. And we're going to mix them up, and we'll go from there. So,
I'm excited. Excited.
So I'm gonna hit the old randomizer button. I mean, I'm gonna shake the hat. I'm gonna shake the hat.
The immersion.
Shake the hat.
Ruined.
It tells me right here. We have 16. You were close. We have 16 categories.
I'm very good at estimating things.
That was really good. Technically, we'll have 17 if you count the top 5. But anyway, all right. Hat has been shaken.
Yep. Not stirred.
Shooken.
Yep.
And our first category to kick us off.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm nervous.
All right.
We're going to jump in with best character. Best character of 2022 in all games. Now, it's important to note this doesn't mean new character. So there is kind of that. I know a lot of people and outlets and stuff will be like, oh, here's the best new character and best character introduced. This is anything. So if you played a game in 2022, came out in 2022, let's see what we got. Who wants to start?
Yeah, who wants to? Jeff, do you want to take the lead on this?
This is one where I don't want to start, but I will start every other category, except for soundtrack as well.
Jeff is going to start for every category.
All right, Tyler, why don't you start us off on this?
Okay, all right. So I got a couple here. Let me find out where's the list. Here it is. All right. And now our hat does not match up with our actual list. Here we go. Okay, so I have a couple. I have 3 games that stood out to me
Okay.
as far as characters goes. Neon White, God of War, and Stray. Now, we'll get into Stray later on. But
I'm shocked to see Stray anywhere on your mentions
it's there a couple of times. Look, man,
because you were so harsh on it.
yeah.
like on
Well,
the
it's
Game
not
of the Year
game.
show.
It's not Game of the Year.
I know.
But anyway, so the cat from Stray
Yes.
is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a cat. It gives you some emotions. It lets you be like knocking stuff off shelves and things like that. I was like, that's a clever character. I like that character. So there's that. From Neon White, there is, ironically enough, a cat, Angel, that is, think like big cigar, and he's just like, hey, what's going on? You know, like and he basically is sending out the neons on the different missions and stuff. And the funny thing with this cat is he this angel is he materializes differently for different people. So your character sees him as a cat with a cigar, but meanwhile, like another character sees him as like John Cena, just randomly.
Yes.
Like it's really funny. But he was a really good character where he's like this kind of big softy, but he tries to be like harsh to you and stuff. He has some really good dialogue. So he is really good. Neon Yellow, also from Neon White, he's one of your like best friends, and he's all like kind of gung ho and like just like really kind of like your hype guy. So those two kind of stuck with me. And then as far as God of War goes, when Odin first showed up in God of War, I was like, like he didn't seem godly, right? Like it was just like, what is this guy?
Yeah.
But the more granted, I haven't finished God of War completely yet, so the more I interact with Odin, though, the more I just like him. I don't even, Jeff, do you know who the voice actor is for him?
Yes. So it is a voice actor by the name of Richard Schiff.
Okay. Do we know anything else that he's done?
No.
I can't place the voice, but I like him so much.
So he is absolutely phenomenal. And I know Kratos won the Voice Actor of the Year award at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
And I think that's twice now. I think he won for 2018 as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
Christopher Judge.
He's incredible. I mean, he's incredible though.
He's good. He's good.
Did you watch that video I tweeted? I don't know if you've ever seen this, Jeff, but I guess it's like his audition with the kid, and they're like he's like tearing up, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah,
acting.
no, he's a great actor.
Like not even just voice. It was like, oh, this could be live action.
Yeah.
I
Amazing.
think the reason why I wanted one of you to go first is
Yeah.
because my best character of 2022 is Odin, and it is
Okay.
not Kratos.
Yeah.
It is not Atreus. It is Odin, and I think where you were going with earlier, Tyler, was when he first walks in. And he has this nonchalant about him. He feels totally in control, even though you may not know who this character is. And guys, by the way, these are not huge spoilers. We're gonna keep this as spoiler free as possible. But Odin is probably one of the most interesting gods ever portrayed in the God of War series for me. He does things that are very human, and he also does things that you can't quite get a grasp on his character, and he plays it with such a finesse. And you're kind of alluding to, oh, I actually kind of like this character. Is he are his motivations that evil, or does he have evil motivations?
Well, that's what makes a great character in normally in video games specifically. And I don't want to like drop video games down a peg or anything like that, but they tend to telegraph the villains and things pretty clearly. And I find myself looking at a villain, and you just, even if he's not a villain in the moment, you're just like, okay, this is a bad guy. You know he's a bad guy, right? And you have your character or one of the characters in the video game that you were playing as or whatever, and they're fooled, right? And you're like screaming at the screen. Like Call of Duty is another one where it's just like, and granted, that's a little weird because Shepard's bad, right?
Sure.
From the very beginning, from Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
But it's just like, he's bad. What are you doing? Like, you can't see that. Like, he's being shady as hell. And you have that stuff. But with Odin, he's set up as the bad guy from the beginning. He walks in, like you said, commands the room, is nonchalant about everything, almost out of place because everyone takes everything so seriously. And this guy is just like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, and just swearing and being kind of like funny about it. But then whenever he's talking with Atreus, and like, again, without spoiling anything, he's like making all of these points and being like all his reasoning is like he's rolling just nat 20s on like persuasion.
Yeah.
And I'm right there with where like it's funny because now I'm the guy, like me personally, am like, oh no, like what you're saying, sure, let's go do X together.
Yeah.
And Atreus is the one that's just like being like super wary about him, or it's like almost like role reversal. But like his portrayal and his acting is just so good. I was like, this is really good. So anyway, like
it seems like the expectations were like subverted from like if you like playing the first game, right? You kind of get this picture of how you think Odin's going to be portrayed, right?
Yeah.
Like super unreasonable and the big bad god or whatever. So
it's just weird because all of his actions don't line up.
Right.
So like throughout God of War 2018 and like throughout part of this one, it's like almost every dialogue is what a piece of crap Odin is, right? Like,
right,
it's
exactly.
Like, oh, this is
right.
bad. Because obviously, like Freya was, I guess, married to him and everything. So, like you know that he's like this bad dude, but then every time you see him, he's like the nicest guy. So it's just
that's what I'm saying. It's like set up in a way where you're like, oh,
so
this
good.
Yeah.
It's so well done, and the guy that's doing it is just. He reminds me of a guy. He's like this thin kind of like gaunt god that's like just bored, right? He's just like I'm the man. Whatever, and it's so good. Yeah.
I think when I began to have a really deep respect for Odin was whenever I realized like this guy is almost like not my comedic relief, but my narrative relief. My narrative relief from the heaviness, from the seriousness, from all of these other people who, and I'm not going to say like Kratos is one-dimensional. I'm not going to say some of the other people under Odin's wing are one-dimensional. They aren't. They're actually doing a great job with the reboot and with Ragnarok. But Odin takes it to this whole nother level of like, oh shit, am I like waiting for Odin to come back on screen now? Like, do I just want to see what he's going to do next or who he's going to talk to in this way? And you can see how he treats different people he interacts with. It's not that he's like playing them or anything. He's just a super intelligent, well-spoken god, and he might talk to Atreus differently. He might talk to Thor differently. He might talk to Kratos and Freya differently. And it is, you never know what's going to happen when Odin comes on screen. And it's that curiosity and just mystery that is so captivating whenever you're interacting with him.
And it's like his dialogue, like you're saying, like his arguments make perfect sense to the character that he's arguing to. So it's not like he's always taking one type of approach on his argument or trying to convince everybody of the same thing the same way. He's still trying to convince everybody of a specific thing, but he's using different tactics per people or per person. It's really, really well done. I mean, obviously a lot of that's based off of the writing, but like the performance itself is also quite good. So yeah, I mean, we could talk for hours on that, but Odin's awesome. I actually was very happy about Thor. I think they do a good job. I'm sure they do some sort of like voice modulation because it's the guy from, the dude from Sons of Anarchy and Remember the Titans. I don't know anyway. He's good. I feel like a lot of the characters, like you mentioned One Dimension, like I know you don't want to say Kratos is One Dimension. I might actually go down a limb and granted, I haven't finished the final stuff yet, but the first God of War game, Kratos, you did have this arc. In this one, at least as far as I'm seeing, is like it's pretty one-dimensional. It's so far where I'm at, it's pretty one-dimensional in that like I love my son, I don't want a war. Well, let's do war, you know? So it's just like, okay, so like you're just gonna murder everyone. It's the whole like like Tomb Raider thing of like, I can't believe it killed somebody, and then you go the rest of the game just murdering everybody. Like, I don't know. It's good. I just feel like God of War 2018, there was some arc there, or he just kept saying boy, 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 boy. Now he's just Atreus. So like you saw the evolution there, but now he's like father of the friggin' year and just only wants to protect his son, where before he's like, let's go hunt someone or whatever, and it's like throw him in danger. And I don't know. Anyway, Kratos is very good. I just think Odin was the surprise there for me. So anyway, what do you got?
Did you have anyone else or?
No, I think that's it. There's some characters that I could talk about, but is on for my list specifically for best character. I think the more we talked about it, like especially with you, Jeff, like Odin's it for me.
Yeah, so I guess the only character that I would bring up, I know you didn't play Horizon, but my favorite character in Horizon is Aaron. He is just, dude, he's just
from the
fucking,
first game too, right?
Yeah. But he's in this game, and like the interactions he has, because in this game, like I don't want to spoil anything too much, but like you get more access to like the old world technology, quote unquote, right? And just how Aaron interacts with like some of that stuff, like for example, like the music he listens to or something. It's just so funny. But like kind of like what Jeff was saying, he's like the comedic relief in that. So I always enjoy those points of brevity with him, and he's a badass too and stuff. But I know that Aloy's like great. She's not my favorite in that game though. Like she's badass and like the acting's like incredible. And she's pretty interesting. But yeah, Aaron's just my boy. I just really like him. That's personally,
fair.
selfishly.
I don't even think that's selfishly. I think that is a great pick for a game that's gonna probably be super overshadowed this year. Yeah. Horizon is a fantastic pick for this year, but I mean, it's going up against things like Elden Ring, God of War, and I love that you picked Aaron because, in my opinion, Aloy was very poorly written, and the only thing that saved Aloy in Forbidden West was Ashley Birch's performance. Yeah. I think these side characters in Horizon are really what carried that game. And again, without any spoiling of Horizon, I feel like Forbidden West was the Mass Effect 2 of the Horizon franchise.
Okay.
And just the way that game kind of melds together, probably from the midway to end game, is a very special thing. And I'm so sad that game is definitely overshadowed in 2022. Kind of the same thing that happened to Zero Dawn, but really great pick with Aaron, and I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'm sticking with Odin, another side character.
Yeah. So how do we want to do that? I mean, do we want to just pick the one, or do we want to do like here's our top, and then here's a runner up?
Let's come to a consensus.
Okay.
And then you said we could do a runner up if you want to.
I mean, we could. So it's a little, and obviously we're going to run into this a lot with the different games based on what we played and different things like that. And I think arguments make a up for some of that, but. Yeah. I mean, are we saying Odin wins by default, or do we want to?
I think based off how you guys explained Odin, I would be good with that. I think it's an interesting pick, and I think the examples you provided, the performance, the subverting of expectations, all that factors in. I think it's like I really like that pick quite a bit.
I can't wait for you to get there, man. Like I just want to hear you talk about Odin.
Because you met him.
I met
once.
him. So I understand what you guys are talking about, but I don't have like the in-depth.
But see, even that first meeting, I was
right. It's just like totally like because
my brain wasn't comprehending.
Right.
It. Like it was just like, wait,
this is the guy they've been talking about all the time.
He was talking more like a Loki, right? Like it was like he's just kind of this like funny, like I was
super charismatic,
I was thinking
right?
Like Tom Hiddleston, like it really is kind of what I was.
No, so I'm with you guys on that, like totally, and it's only gonna get better from what I can.
Yeah, we're like we're passing and high fiving. We're like I'm finishing up God of War, you're starting it, and then
baton. Cool. So sweet. Odin, right. Do we want to run her up, or do we feel just comfortable?
I mean, that's up to you. Like,
maybe if we feel strongly about a number 2, but I think that category.
Do you both like Aaron, or is that?
It would not be my run. I'm probably not gonna do a runner up, but you guys are welcome to. Mine would be
I'm good.
Somebody else.
No, I'm good. Who is the? I'm just curious.
So it would have to be. Probably have to put more thought into it, but it would have to be. And I'm cheating here.
All right.
Audience, I'm sorry. You guys, I'm sorry, but I'm cheating here. I'm treating Cyberpunk 2077. The next gen update as a game that released this year. I'm sorry, I have to do it because that game was completely unplayable for me, and I was a day oneer. I had this game in plastic wrap since I bought the $40 strategy guide, and it just now became playable to me. So I am treating Cyberpunk 2077 as a 2022 game, and some of my picks might reflect that.
Okay.
What was the character? What was your favorite character in that game?
So I would have to give it to Johnny Silverhand. I cannot think of in a lot of ways he was the main protagonist of that game, and then in some ways he wasn't. I think that character I identified with that character so much in so many ways. This guy who, I'm not going to get into super depth, but guy that's in my head tries to do good, but is just so flawed in every execution that it's almost like he doesn't know what to do anymore. And I just sympathize with that. The way Cyberpunk ended in the ending that I got, totally makes sense. But I would have to give it to Johnny Silverhand.
That's a good pick.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed that quite a bit.
By that logic, would like The Witcher 3 count? With their next gen,
Geralt is my character of the year.
I mean, I'm kind of comparing an unplayable game to a playable game, but
enough, yeah.
No, yeah, from your
know.
perspective, that's that was your first go of it, and
we have a category, and not to spoil
yeah,
it,
true,
but
true.
we do have a category for that. So
yeah. All right, let's what's the next category?
All right, next category. I'm going to shake the hat up again. All right, picked it up, and it's best moment.
Oh fuck. All right, Jeff.
I love this category.
All right, first,
so
let's hear
it. Mine are completely, basically spoiler free, but I have two this year, and one of them just happened Wednesday. So I'm like living. I think I'm still riding the high from it. I'm not sure which of these two moments is going to be my best moment feeling of 2022. I'm gonna have to let it simmer a little bit.
Okay.
Cut me off if I'm ranting, because I am just on cloud nine still. So you guys know that I dwell in the MMO space. Like, that is a place of happiness for me. And
a little comfort.
Yes, it's like coming home to that baked mac and cheese is how I would put it. World of Warcraft Dragonflight launched about 3 weeks ago, and I am losing my life to Dragonflight. And
were you playing that last night when you sent me a message at 6 a.m.?
That's when I was going to bed. Yes.
Yeah, that's insane. 5:55. Hey, just blow up my phone if I'm not up by 11.
I sent Tyler a message. I was like, please just spam call me at 11 if I'm not up.
I was like, he's got to be playing World of Warcraft. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
So part of the reason why these games are so special to me, and not just World of Warcraft, but Final Fantasy, some of these other games that we've played in the past together, my friend group, is the amount of people you can get together and have these shared experiences with. Not unlike a 5-player match of League of Legends or going out to Sea of Thieves. I've never played Sea of Thieves, but I hear it's awesome. But on Tuesday, the new raid, Vault of the Incarnates, came out in Dragonflight. And this is kind of like you might be seeing on Twitch, like the Race to World First, all these guilds doing like this, the top tier rating and stuff like that. I play in a very casual guild. It's a little bit easier that way for me to manage time. But we would call ourselves casual hardcore. We did the raid on Tuesday. We did not complete it. We got 3 bosses down, and we were pretty happy with that. 3 of the 8 bosses. And we started work on this spider boss named Senarath. And we had no clue that this was like a hard stop moment. For the raid, it's kind of like a DPS check, a healing check. It's kind of like just a raid check. Can you guys perform well? We did not beat it Tuesday. We came back Wednesday. We were, spinning our wheels on this boss for 3 hours. And it gets down to a point where you as a guild have to say, hey, I'm sorry, but the not performing members, can you please step out to see if we can kind of try to crush this boss? So we get a couple of attempts in with our best people.
So real quick, do you pull other people in that aren't part of the guild to get through it?
No. So it scales with like how many people are in the raid. So we're hovering around 25 people in this raid, brought it down to probably 19 or 20. And
oh, so you say like if you cut the dead weight,
it goes
down in difficulty a little bit.
Yes. So we had a couple of damage dealers who were maybe under the tanks, which is not as bad news bears for progression.
That's interesting.
Now, to get the scope of why this moment is so special, you have to almost go back and watch some of the 2010 videos of people getting a kill on a boss for the first time and having 20 people on Discord screaming their lungs out. But it was the end of raid night, and our guild leader says, all right, guys, type yes for one more attempt, type no for, calling it here. It's 11, everyone's tired, different time zones. Everyone spams yes. No, we're not giving up, guys. It's not over. I'm typing in chat, guys, open trade with me for flasks, open trade for me for potions. I got all the alchemy going out every which way. We're all trying everything we pour into this one attempt. And we down it, and it was the best feeling. It's the boss is dropping to 3%. The boss is dropping to 2%. Everyone's screaming, "Die, die!" And everyone just loses their mind when this boss dies. And we were the 5th guild on our battle group, so the 5th guild over. I think our battle group is 4 or 5 servers to down this boss. So it was a very special moment for a casual guild. And then my second moment is beating Melania in Elden Ring after 357 attempts.
So I remember seeing that on stream.
Yes. So I have that moment recorded, and I did handicap myself purposefully. So there's a lot of ways you can beat Melania in a handful of tries, but I purposefully handicap myself because I am one of those people who believe in the difficulty of From Software games. I don't know why. There's some kind of brain thing going on there, but those are my best moments of 2022, and I don't know which one's going to win yet.
So yeah, I do love that. It's funny, every time someone who's really passionate about MMOs talks about MMOs,
it makes you want to play.
Oh my god, it makes me get so excited. I'm gonna play World of Warcraft. It's gonna be great.
It now,
and I hate it every time I do it. But it's no, I admire that. That's the feeling you want out of that game. But
it's insane.
I like both of your moments because it's so I kind of interpreted it a little differently. I guess no one's correct or incorrect, but mine was more story based, right? Where yours is gameplay, which is awesome. I love there's few things better than a natural gameplay moment that's just a huge pop off or just a crazy thing that happens. Those are sometimes better than anything anyone can write though, right? You know what I mean? Because it's just completely out of nowhere. But I'm actually gonna go back to the same game, Horizon. Like Jeff was talking about previously, the story in this game totally opens up about the midway point where there's just this crazy revelation, I guess, where I don't want to spoil it, but essentially there's some people that kind of walk into this place that you're in, and you just kind of connect the dots, and you're like, holy shit! It changes the game, dude.
Okay.
And from there on, I was just in because. The thing is, Horizon Forbidden West, fantastic game. Looks beautiful, plays so well, but it's really the first one, right? We were having this conversation, Tyler, where it's sometimes it's hard to innovate. They feel we have to add all these things to.
You have to do everything up to that point plus more.
Yeah, right. There's a glider now, and it's these ticky tack things. They're just okay, well, you're just trying to upgrade it a little bit. But it was interesting. I was having a great time. But the story is what really hooked me. And that moment in particular is where I was oh, so I'm in. I'm invested now.
Yeah.
I'm just what the fuck is happening? I'm really curious to figure all that out. So to me, that's my moment of the year. I just love, those plot twists or those big, heavy moments in storytelling where you're just your mouth's open and you're what the fuck just happened?
Right.
And you're racking your brain and you turn the game off and you go to bed and you're still thinking about it. Yeah. So those are kind of the best, my favorite moments. So my favorite moment from Horizon Forbidden West. Anyone who's played it knows exactly what
I was going to say. About. I feel bad because I feel we should be saying it, but I also don't want it spoiled.
No, I can't wait till you play it and you'll text me as soon as it happens. You're fuck.
That's how it was in the first game, Kyle. Because I was I like the gameplay, which is why I kept with it. But I'm the story's whatever for me. I was wait till you get to the tower. And then you get to the tower, I'm oh, okay, now I just got to go through the rest of it. Yeah, so that'll be awesome.
John, I think what is so special about your pick, and I absolutely love about the Horizon series, is when one ended, I was okay, we know what kind of this is all about. What could 2 possibly bring?
Right.
To expand on what we knew.
I felt
and then it just completely blows up, and you're oh.
Yeah.
And now I have that same thing in my brain, okay, we know where 2's at. What the heck is 3 gonna be?
Yeah.
And it is so interesting, intriguing, mysterious. I have no clue where Guerrilla's gonna go with Horizon 3. And that curiosity and the story is really what drives me in the Horizon games, because I had a really big issue with the gameplay of Forbidden West. And
really, no, I'm curious. What? Yeah, to derail.
I know we're not. So my issue with it was they toted this game as play how you want to play, hunt as you want to, how you hunt. Guess what? I'm a brute. Like, I'm a brute in real life. I'm a brute in video games. I'm always playing the barbarian. I don't want to be sitting back with no hunter's bow or something. I want to be in there with a shotgun or my staff. So whenever I built my tree out in Horizon Forbidden West, I went full melee. I was like, this is sick. And it turns out that this game is not prepared to let you play in a melee or even like a close quarters way. Even the weapons that they give you, you find the ammo very sparse at the beginning. The machine's animations are very difficult to deal with from that close of range. It just naturally feels better to be at long range. But those were kind of my gripes with the gameplay, just not letting me play how I want to play, even though you told me I could play that way.
Sounds pretty disappointing.
But I just love that you chose it as your kind of moment. Because there is something very special about that game, and again, just sad that it's overshadowed.
When they look back at the series, however many games it's going to be, that's like, to me, that's the defining. This is when it's like next level. So yeah, that's my pick.
So I'll read. I put a few on here. These are all kind of like gameplay oriented stuff that just kind of hit that dopamine. Like I felt good doing it.
Tyler loves his dopamine.
Yeah, well, So for me, I'm gonna be harping on Neon White for a while, but being able to eke out that best time where you get like the developer time or you beat someone's high score feels phenomenal, because you might run this level like 100 times and you're trying to beat someone by like 100th of a second, right? So when you actually do it and you get that, like, it feels real good. And like, I am not that like leaderboard time trial guy, and for whatever reason, I just really like that one. Uncovering a secret in Tunic was something special, because there is just no words in that game, so it's all pictographs and kind of they allude to different things and things like that, and you can find like different areas you can kind of sneak around to, or you start piecing things together, you start like looking at this manual and trying to decipher what it's trying to tell you. And when you uncover kind of that knowledge and it all starts clicking, it feels really good. The best thing I could kind of draw a parallel to is like The Witness. I don't know if you ever played that game, but it's just like you go through, and every time you solve a puzzle or every time you figure something out, you get that aha moment of like, you just feel really smart. So I like that kind of stuff. Strange Horticulture is kind of the similar thing. They have some little, I'll touch on this later, but you have like these, like, you have to like identify plants and you have like to solve different things. And whenever you do it, it feels really good. But especially that game, it's like, they can't be really doing this. And whenever you do two things that it's like, I can't believe they're that clever, 9 times out of 10 it works and it feels good. So then a couple other ones are just getting a long shot kill in Sniper Elite 5. This is probably the only time I'm going to mention this game, but I had a lot of fun with it. I thought the multiplayer was really good with it. But if you have that on a hard difficulty where you have to like take account for like the wind and the distance and bullet drop and all that stuff, and you get that like super long shot X-ray kill from like, a mile away, oh man, it feels real good. Splatting by a fraction of a percent. So playing Splatoon.
What'd you just say?
Splatting. So if you play Splatoon 3, I don't know if you guys played it, but you're covering up paint on both sides of the map, and at the end of the map, or at the end of the level, you get like, you play for like 3 minutes. It shows an overhead thing of the map, and there's like red and blue paint everywhere, and it shows who has most of the map covered. And usually it's like, 60-40, 80-20, like whatever. But sometimes you get like a 49.1 to like 49% or something like that. And they do this thing where you have this drum roll, and then it goes bam, and then you see it, and then like it takes a second for you to like realize like, did I win or not or whatever. And then if you win by that 0.1%, does it feel good? It's real good. And then The two other things is, well, actually, I'll say one other thing, is kill streaks in Call of Duty. For whatever reason, like, I feel like I'm decent at Modern Warfare 2. Like, it clicked with me, and I'm getting a lot of kills. I feel really powerful in that game. That has not happened in a Call of Duty game for since like Black Ops 1, maybe, right? Where like I feel like I'm on like the top of the score chart or whatever. So like that feels real good for this game.
I'm hearing tales of your exploits in Call of Duty. I hear like your legendary status.
No, Tyler's like somehow so good.
But I'm not good. It's just for whatever reason this game clicked where it feels good and I do well. So either it's this big joke that everyone is just giving me a big head and just like, hey, Tyler's feeling really bad about himself.
Let's boost him up.
He's 35, like whatever. Yeah. But yeah, overall, I think realizing that it's like, oh, I can actually play this game and do well at it. That's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, no. It's funny. Like when we're playing, I just see like Tyler, 5th chopper gunner of the night. It's like, what the fuck is this guy doing? It's what a revival.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? Like, it's like, oh my gosh, like I actually want to stream now because
that's really good. Yeah. Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right, so a lot of different moments. You two went gameplay oriented. I went story oriented. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about how to whittle it down. This one's tough because it's very personal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
and I'd be the first one to say none of my stuff is like groundbreaking.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that mine. I think if we really were trying to make a list of this, it would almost have to be like best moments in a game, or like taking the personality out of it and just trying to think about, what are those huge moments in games that really resonated with people. And it would get very, very spoilery, but
is it safe to say that the best moment in a game, and maybe this is too broad, but can we say something like overcoming like a hard challenge or something like that? Or because like the way you were describing World of Warcraft, like and John both said like, oh, that makes me want to play that game.
Yeah.
Right. Like I want to have that experience of everything that everyone's talking about. Like even me experiencing these things, what you just had in World of Warcraft, I'm like, that sounds better. Like I want that camaraderie. I want that Star Wars Galaxy feel again. I want that type of thing. So for me, I could very easily kind of throw my hat in the ring behind something like that versus like this. And like, I feel bad because Horizon might be the best thing in the world. I may be eating my words later on where I'm like, I finally got to that moment. I want it. Right. But I also don't want to get spoiled. So it's kind of a tough call there. Yeah.
No, I understand. I agree. Listening to Jeff, it's like, I love hype moments. Like that's what I live for. When everyone's freaking out, screaming at the top of their lungs. Yeah. Like, I was talking about like how I went to see, the World Championship for League of Legends this year.
I thought that was going to be yours. I thought it was the finals.
That counts, but it was incredible. Anyway, so the series that we watched went to 5 games. It's the best of 5.
Yeah.
And like, you just don't know who's going to win. Like one fight can decide the entire series. The loser goes home. The winner goes on. Yeah. It's like all the like they've been playing all year for this moment. And you can just feel like the tension's palpable in the arena. It's like almost silence, like while they're fucking watching these. And then this team fight just erupts, and it is fucking crazy. People are going nuts. It's just amazing. Like the plays that they're able to pull off, and everyone's just screaming. So I can relate. That being said, I can relate to what Jeff's saying because I love those pop off, everyone's screaming, something crazy just happened moments, so I can definitely get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, what would we call that then? Like beating? How do you spell the spider name? Or rallying or
Sereneth?
Beating the completing the raid with the boys.
Completing
World of Warcraft.
I don't think there's any way to rank it because it's like you can have your personal moment, you can have your story moment, you can have any type of moment, or even just. Completing a game that you've had difficulty with can mean something so important to someone else, but you're like, oh, I didn't have any problem with that game.
Right.
I think of the God of War puzzles where whenever I was streaming that game, I was like, oh my God, these puzzles are hard. They must have like dumbed these down just for the person like I am. Like, because I cannot do puzzle games at all. And I see all these news articles going up of like, man, God of War puzzles are so easy. Why are they even in the game? I'm like, I can't even. Where do I throw my axe? And when do I freeze it? And when do I do this? But I think moments are so personal. It's hard to rank them.
Yeah, but the way well, look. According to the rules, we have to put something into this.
I'm gonna let the host decide.
I am fine with completing the raid with the boys.
Oh yeah,
if you are,
absolutely.
I think that's
Saturdays for the boys. But
if we're trying to make it like personal, because obviously neither of us played World of Warcraft, I am looking at the same thing of overcoming a hard challenge.
I love that.
And I think that's, to me, and it's ironic because I'm a proponent of play that thing on easy and just have fun and just fly through it, man. But even like to that kind of same thing, like God of War, there are plenty of times when I'm like, oh man, do I just knock this down just to get past this? Because like I'm getting really frustrated. But like every time I feel that, and then similar to like do you want to quit now? Do you want to do one more? I'll do that one more and get through. Now I'm not going to play it 395 times.
Yes,
but
wild.
I'll give you like 20, to try to get through it until I realize like, oh, I'm not actually supposed to beat this because I'm not high enough level to anyway. But yeah, okay.
I feel good about that one. That was a good moment from Jeff.
Speaking of playing something 395 times, the next category is the most rage-inducing video game.
Oh, yeah.
Of 2022.
Yeah.
That's what I heard from John.
Yeah. You get all these flashbacks, and I'll go first on this one because it's not going to win, but this is just personal for me. So Call of Duty has this beautiful love-hate relationship where it's like when you're doing well, it feels so good. But when you're not doing well, it's like, dude, I've never like Call of Duty has always been the game where like you could have the nicest person, like nothing gets them down. But as soon as you have them play Call of Duty, they're like fucking swearing and like pissed off and saying how the other team's shit, or they're like,
there's lag. There's like, oh, okay,
yeah, exactly.
Sure.
It's just like excuses start lying. It's like, it's so funny to me how like it's just a flip of the switch, and it's kind of what I love about the game. But oh my god, when you're just getting hosed by the other team, dude, it is so you're like getting spawn camped. They have like an AC-130 in the air, just absolutely annihilating you. It is the most rage-inducing thing ever, bro. But it's not as bad as like other games. Like totally understand that because like Call of Duty is pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
So in a game like League where it's like 40 minutes, that's like way worse. But in terms of games that came out this year, for me, it's Call of Duty because like it just has this magic over me where it's like it makes me so frustrated sometimes.
Oh, no, that's fair. What do you got, Jeff?
Here we go. This is what I'm excited for.
So I kind of have an out there pick for this one because I could have gone with, the Valorant player that is AFK but not AFK. They move their character at the beginning of the round and purposefully throw the whole game for you while talking to you because that happened to me. And I'm like, I go therapy mode. I'm like, hey, man.
Try to reason with them.
Yeah, I try to win them with happiness. I'm like, hey, why are you doing this? You need some like, what's going on, bud? Like, I try to talk them out of the
yeah.
Or like, I could think of like League of Legends. Someone's AFK at the start of the game. They get to lane 6 minions late. They hit level 2 way late. They get level 2'd by their opponent and just get crushed the rest of the game, and then blame their jungler. That rate makes me rage. But I had a rage moment this year that took me back to like 2nd grade. I'm playing a game called Tactics Ogre Reborn. This game came out this year in November. It is a remake of it's kind of like a port. But Tactics Ogre is a game that basically launched the Final Fantasy Tactics game and then other tactics games from it. So it's very turn-based. You're moving your characters kind of like on this 3D chessboard. And what I typically love about RPGs is creating that cast of characters, of classes, of diversity. And I love it when everyone has a job. They have one job, and that's how I define that character. I love it. And that's what this game lets you do. However, in this remake, they implemented a couple of features that I am really perplexed at. One is a level cap. So imagine you're playing an RPG that was recommended to you, and you go up against a boss who, instead of being equal level with, you're 3 levels down. And the game is designed that way. That happens throughout this entire game. You are level capped by region. So at this point in the story, you cannot go past level, we'll say 17. Guess what? When you get to the end of this chapter, the boss is going to be 21. So that
it will always be that way. Like you
Yes.
can't.
Even if you're leveling, you could go do training battles, you could go do side stories. Your characters are level capped, and you can be level capped at 11, 15, I think I'm level capped at 25 right now. And the reason this makes it so bad is because I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you have to think more strategically. You have to have this character for this circumstance, this character for that. But what it deters from is you then cannot have that diverse cast of characters. You cannot make the party that you want. You need to. It does just become a chess game and less of an RPG. And the reason I raged at this is because there are one-on-one boss fights where you pick one character against one boss, and it's just one-on-one. And when you are level capped and that boss is 4 levels higher than you, you get either 1-shot or 2-shot. So what you do is to beat the boss is you just run around a battlefield, kiting them until random buff cards spawn on the map. You grab that buff card and then wait for another one to spawn. Grab that buff card until you can 1-shot the boss. It is silly. And I was doing this on stream and I was like, guys, somebody help me. Like, am I doing this wrong? Like, I'm level capped. I have all the abilities. I have all the best gear. I'm getting 1-shot. And everyone's like, question mark? Like, we don't know. So that level cap really enraged me. And it still does to this day because I can't beat this game. I sadly have to go back and like subdue an octopus because an octopus is apparently good in this battle that I can't beat. And there's no name to the octopus. It's kind of like trying to go out there and catch a shiny Pokemon. I have to go find this one octopus that can like ink cloud the battlefield. And I'm like,
wild. Okay.
I just want my paladin and my terror knight and you know my priest to just be able to walk in here and at least have a fair shot at it, but you just get decimated. So that is my most rage-inducing game of 2022.
All right. Okay.
It is a pretty poor design.
It was an interesting choice because none of the other games had this level cap or difficulty spike.
I'm shocked Elden Ring isn't your most rage.
No, I loved every moment of Elden Ring. I did not have a
he likes
single
getting
moment.
Whips. It's just there's very specific
Guidelines.
That, you
I
can
see.
take.
It has to. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I just can't be level capped. You know,
It has to be a fair playing ground.
So
when it gets destroyed.
So I put a couple on this list, but I can narrow it down to 2. One, I just want to shout out to Sifu, mainly because I don't think Sifu's showing up anywhere else on my list. Like, I think it was a cool game and it made you feel good up to the point of like, now you fight this boss. And I would get so enraged because I just couldn't comprehend what I had to do. Kind of like the last game that made me feel this way was like Fortnite, where like my nephew would just absolutely destroy me making up like his little fort and stuff, and my brain and hands just couldn't comprehend what I needed to do to create something. So Sifu's kind of the same thing where it's like, oh, you just press down and back and this button and you just dodge all this and then you punch him in the face. And it's like, okay, I understand what I need to do, thanks game, but I couldn't do it and it was infuriating. However, Call of Duty, not for the gameplay specifically, sucks getting hosed.
You know what? Yeah,
Call of
this
Duty.
Is a great pick.
I wanted to literally just throw my computer through the window with how much it crashes and bugged out. Didn't work, and just like I could not finish the campaign. So like I played almost flawlessly most of the campaign until I get to All Gillied Up. Now All Gillied Up is I forget what it's called in this mod.
Yeah, it's the equivalent.
Yeah, equivalent stealth game or whatever. That is typically my favorite mission because I love stealth games. Like I love stealth games. And I had to play that mission probably a dozen times. Like the intro part. And you're crawling, so it's just miserable. And it just quits to desktop, kicks you out. You're playing a multiplayer match, doing really, really good. kicks you out. You lose all that experience. You lose everything that you did. You're playing like the DMZ like Warzone thing. So you have like all your backpack and stuff that you take with you. But if you quit out, like if the game crashes, you just lose it all. So like you're in the middle of a mission doing that, and it was infuriating. And then when you go on to try to like figure it out, and it's like, okay, hey, what's going on? What should I do? And it's like, well, you got to make sure your drivers are updated. You got to make sure all this other stuff is. And then you find out that no, actually the drivers updating are like hurting you.
They're the problem.
Yeah. So then you have to like roll back stuff. One of the, and I'll never forget this. One of the things for on the Activision site was like, well, have you tried uninstalling everything and just have Windows and Call of Duty on your system? Oh, is that it? Yeah, just have a $5,000 Call of Duty
Call
machine.
of Duty machine.
Like, get out of here. Man, I don't think I've been so angry with a game where it was like we would play and maybe like every other match it would just quit out. And then like, it's not because I want to stop playing, because like, again, like I said, that's also my favorite moment. How can it be your favorite moment when you're doing really well, but then like also the most rage-inducing thing in the world?
Because you lose the.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's just like
so. I totally agree with that. I didn't have those problems, but in extension, I will include Call of Duty's fucking menu, dude. The worst.
Yeah.
Like the gun progression in this game is the worst shit I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I don't know if have you played it, Jeff?
I have not, but
so here's how it works.
I understand.
You have like attachments, right? But you have requirements to unlock these attachments. You have to get X gun to a certain level. So you'll go to X gun, which it doesn't take you to the gun. You have to fucking find it. And
it's a little mini game. It's like a little hide and seek thing.
It's not real guns. Like, you know, like back in the day, it was like, oh, P90. I know what that is. I can get there quickly. Now it's called the whatever it's called, like, because they don't have the licensing. So
sure.
You don't know what the guns are called. You're like searching for it. And then you get to that gun and you're like, okay, I need this to level 3. Oh, wait, I don't have that gun unlocked. I need another gun to level 10 to get this
and
one.
It's not like it's the same class of gun.
Yeah.
No.
It's like, oh, I want the MP5, so let me work on a fucking marksman rifle
yes.
and different things like that.
It's like the family tree of guns.
I try not to swear on podcasts, but this game is just infuriates me.
So
I have the worst mouth in Call of Duty. Like, oh my God.
That's
Really?
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, dude. People who
turn
are
into a different
super
person.
mild-mannered, when they play Call of Duty, it's magical.
It's
they
very
become
bad.
sailors, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not good.
With all of those reasonings, because I think for this category, we're picking a game.
Oh, yeah.
Right, not a
picking a
specific
game.
moment. So I would say Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah. I think Call of Duty wins. Technical issues and menus.
It's not a bad game. I
Sure.
really enjoy the game, but man,
Call of Duty is on my so like if you were doing like a top 10, like a classic, like 10 games, like absolutely on my list.
Yeah,
sure.
Like I said, it's my favorite moment of the year. It's just like
the highs are high, but
oh
the
my
lows
gosh,
are just
like,
rough.
Yeah, and it's like every time, not to keep piling on, but it's like, and then it's one of those things where once it crashes, it's like, would you like to verify your game files? I'm like, sure, I'll verify my game files.
For the 10th
There's
time.
always 33 files that are corrupted. So then you do that, you download those again, which takes a little bit of time, and then you have to recompile all your shaders again, which takes forever. And then once it recompiles the shaders, it makes you restart the game. So every time you launch a game after a crash, you launch the game, recompile, restart the game again. And it's just like, and you know this every single time it crashes, you have to do this. So it's like, okay, crash, reboot like 3 times to maybe get into a match. If people drop in your party, you have to disband the party completely and re-up the party. Like just, oh man. It's
The last thing I'll say about this, and we're just dogpiling.
Yeah,
at this point,
well, hey,
but it is
people need
just
to know.
when you're configuring your setups and the party leader starts it to find a match, it kicks you out of the menu.
yes, you're trying to like build a gun really
It doesn't
fast.
save your progress.
You don't have enough time to do anything.
You don't have enough time
And
because the
it's-
menu navigation is its own game.
yeah, it's so bad.
It's a puzzle game.
Yeah, you can't.
You get a
kit
free
your
puzzle
weapon
game
out.
within Call of Duty.
Now-
It's fantastic.
I know we need to move on, but this Call of Duty is a tried and true formula. What happened here?
Didn't I send you the video, Tyler, of
Yeah.
like the old Modern Warfare 2's menu?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, look how clean this UI is. Look how simple. I know exactly where I need to go. I know exactly what, you know what I mean? And then it compares it to like the monstrosity that is. I think they just like try to do too much. They're like, we got to be modern. We got to be like, this can't be your grandpa's Modern Warfare 2. This is like hip and new, and it was too much.
It needs to be like Fortnite. It needs to connect with the younger audience and what they're used to as what a UI is. I can't blame them for that. I understand what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But today's UI in general, and we had this on as a category, and I took it off because I was getting frustrated and just I hated every UI of every video game. But like generally speaking, it's overload, and they try to hit you with so many things, and they do these things where like they're showing you, like, even if you buy, like, I paid $70 for this game and it's not enough. They're going to show me a $30 battle pass, even though a battle pass technically only costs $10. They'll only, like, whenever you go to the battle pass, it's like, hey, $30 for this big battle pass, and you have to like go menus over to find like, oh, it's actually 10, but we wanted to give you the extra skins or something. It's just like, come on, man.
All right. Well,
anyway,
Call of Duty.
You guys feel good? You guys feel good?
Congratulations
Get that out.
on the
Congratulations on your couch award. All right, what do we got next? I know we
shaking the hat violently right now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's a fun one.
All right.
The best game we didn't get to play.
The game we didn't have time to play, but we're looking forward to playing.
100 plus games came out this year. I don't want to say we were slacking. We had a lot going on. Jeff, you played a lot of games, but like specifically from 2022.
Yeah.
We're adding to our backlog, I think it's safe to say. So it's like, what are these games we want to maybe have like first kind of like they're next on the list, right? Before 2023 kicks off.
Yeah, super interesting category. I think when people say that there was a gaming drought in 2022, it's like I can't connect with that. I don't understand. I technically stream 4 hours a day every day as a job, and I cannot even come close to keeping up with the amount of games that are out right now, especially in the backlog. But there is a game, and this is going to be a deep cut. It came out of nowhere, and I saw a trailer for it, and maybe it was Video Games Chronicles, or I don't know what website posted it, but it was like, oh, the sleeper hit of 2022 is a RPG you never heard of. And I was like, oh, that's clickbaity. Like, of course I'm going to click on that. Like, who wouldn't? And I can't even pronounce the title of this game. That's kind of how weird it is, but I think it's Ast Libra Revision. Ast Libra Revision. It is by a developer named Kaizo. It has 6,107 overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam right now. The description of this game is confront time and fate in the 2D action RPG Ast Libra Revision. Explore meticulously crafted worlds, fight brutal boss battles, and upgrade your skills to take down enemies lurking around every corner. And that's the entire description. But when I look at this game visually, it looks like Blasphemous, which I don't know if you guys can visually get that in your brain.
That's like you're talking side scroller,
yes.
Right? Yeah, like pixelated. Yeah.
It looks like that, maybe a little bit more hand painted, but an RPG where you have your hit points, you have your spells, you have your different abilities with these beautifully crafted bosses. And I haven't even had the chance to buy this game yet. I think it came out last month. And like I said, I read that article and I'm instantly like, this is at my top to play list. Like, I want somebody. If you guys aren't familiar with how my stream works, whoever wins the bid gets to pick the next game I play. I'm like, whoever wins next bid, please consider this game. Like, I'm trying to like plug it, like get some, because I want to play it so desperately. And it just came out of nowhere. And like a lot of games this year, you're kind of sidetracked with, oh shit, like I have this God of War Ragnarok, this 40-hour game that is so captivating, but there's also these little indie darlings coming out. Aside from these huge encompassing time sinks. So yeah, that is the game that I wish I got to play.
Okay.
Interesting. That's a deep cut.
It is.
You said, yeah, I like that.
I would say just look it up on Steam.
You're gonna have to send me the link to it, because what I think well, don't hold me to this, but I'm gonna try to, like, we're in the middle of redoing our site, like our website, and we're making it all fancy like. But I think that'll be good to like maybe like start linking to things like that for anyone interested. Yeah.
Now that you mention it, Jeff, obviously a streamer. What Killed Jeff?
Yes,
on Twitch.
twitch.tv/whatkilledjeff.
Yeah. Always a great time.
You know what? We have fun. Small community. I just recently, if you're listening out there, I just recently banned my first person, and that was a huge stepping stone. I hated it.
It just means you made it.
I don't think it means I made it. I think I realized that we have to go back to therapy. You can't fix everyone. Like some people are just meant to watch the city burn or whatever that Batman line. But check out the stream every day. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm like trying to remember when I stream, but yeah, come stop by and say hey.
No, yeah, and I don't know. I always enjoy like smaller communities, so much more intimate. Like the streamers almost guaranteed to acknowledge you, right? But it's just always fun. So there will be times where I go on Twitch and just like a game, and then like the person with like 4 viewers.
Sure,
you know what I mean. So yeah, check them out. It's always a great time. I try to catch it when I can.
Absolutely,
especially when there's a game. I'm like, oh man, I wonder how Jeff's gonna feel about this game. Yeah. So
one of these days, whenever I have time to like get back into Neon White,
I can't wait.
Yeah, you gotta get into play it. Yeah.
I want to play Neon White so bad.
All right, so remind me what category we're on.
Ran out of time.
Yeah, so technically I started God of War, so I guess that doesn't count. So I have to say Elden Ring. Obviously, one game of the year on the not so popular show. Yeah, not as popular as us. Yeah. But it's so hyped. But my partner in crime like tries to talk me out of it every day, and I just think I have to experience it for myself. Like I know I'm gonna hate it, but like I have to make sure because it's so hyped. Like everyone loves this game, so like for me it's Elden Ring, which is probably a pretty big one. People are probably like, "Dude, why have you not played it yet?"
I'm shocked to hear this from you.
Well, I'm scared shitless to play this game, dude. Like it just sounds so miserable to me because I'm the guy who like loves easy mode. I want to get off work. I want to be a god, and this is not that. I think I would enjoy it most playing a bullshit strategy. Like I know there's like correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff. I think there's a strategy where like you can summon like a ghost and then you can just do ranged.
So that ghost is, I would say, yes, you can absolutely do
People
that.
consider like cheating, right?
Yes, I've never summoned that ghost.
Right.
Because what it does is it mimics whatever you are. So it's not just spells. If you're a dual wielding bleed build with katanas, your shadow is gonna be a dual wielding katanas or whatever. Right. It is whatever you are. But that is their accessibility option in this game. You get it fairly early in the game, and they're saying, hey, you know what? If you're having difficulty, we're going to give you this shadow that's probably going to have aggro on the boss, probably be taking a lot of attacks from the boss, and you can kind of do your own thing for a little bit. There's also, like you said, like bullshit strategy. There are a lot of builds in Elden Ring that are also, in my opinion, the accessibility option in terms of difficulty. The boss that took me 357 attempts to beat, if you go this one build, you can basically kill her while she's transforming into her second form. Like I watched it and it was a little bit rage inducing to me that knowing that people are doing this, and I'm like, but you're missing out on like the moment of win, because people are like beating this boss and they're like, yeah, like, okay, that was kind of a cool boss. She looked cool. And meanwhile, my experience was like, like just throwing shit.
Yeah.
Whenever I won, I was so excited. But I'm so thrilled that you even put this on your list. And if you are looking for ways to play this game that would be more suitable to how you'd like to enjoy games, I can certainly hook you up with
I
that.
need OP build easy mode.
Okay, I can do that.
How I would like to play the game, which probably makes you cringe.
Do they have a mod? Like they have this game modded yet, where it's just like, hey, every person's like a one shot, and you just have like 1,000 lives.
That's the game I want to play.
That's what I want to. I want to see it. I want the exploration.
Yeah.
I just, oh man.
No,
I don't want to be punished for it. Okay, we'll get there.
All right. What about you, Ty? What about you, Ty?
Okay, so I have a list. I'm sorry, I didn't realize we were just picking one. So I actually started High on Life because I was going to see if I could try to shoehorn it in somewhere, because I would say I enjoy Rick and Morty more than I don't, but it is very hit or miss for me. Like the kind of like what would you call that type of dialogue? Like the rambling dialogue, like, oh yeah, no, you did the thing, like like literally like stuttering and doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How I talk. So I like that, and I like that they have the guts to put that into a video game, and they have some funny lines. The intro is okay. Like, it does this thing in games where it's like, oh, this is super lazy to do XYZ and stuff. It's like,
fourth wall stuff.
Yeah, but I like the fourth wall. But if you're telling me how bad a certain gameplay element is in a video game, yeah, it's funny that you're calling it out. But if you still make me do that thing that's super bad, it's kind of annoying. It's like, okay, so you know this is bad and you put it in anyway, is what you're telling me.
It'd be better if it was like,
more on that.
Oh man, nobody likes this, and then it like crosses
Something
it off
happens.
the list.
Yeah, yeah.
And that would be better.
But anyway, it's humorous. We'll get there sometime next year whenever I kind of get around to it. But Chained Echoes, which just came out on Game Pass, which you put out a big RPG on Game Pass in December. It's like, well, good luck. I'm not going to get to that.
Right.
Yeah. So that looks interesting. Warhammer 40K Darktide. So it's like a Vermintide, but with like guns and Warhammer 40K, like Space Marine type stuff. So
did you see?
that.
Sorry, sidebar here.
Yeah.
And I know we're going over, but Henry Cavill.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
For live action 40K.
That's so
pretty
weird,
sweet, yeah.
dude. What's going on with him? Because it's like, hey,
He's
I'm not going to be Witcher because I'm going to be Superman. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be Superman. Let's
Right.
do 40K.
Wasn't he in the Black Adam? Is that a spoiler? Sorry.
Was he?
Yeah. I thought so.
I haven't
in the
seen
trailer,
it.
he was. In the trailer, he was.
Was he?
Yeah, I thought so.
I think that might have been a fan trailer.
Maybe.
He did.
Maybe I got duped.
Somebody, I
swear
think
it
either
was.
The Rock or he said, maybe it was The Rock that said like, "Hey, I'm going to fight Superman."
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean Henry Cavill.
Yeah, it doesn't mean
so,
Henry Cavill. Yeah.
They're rebooting that
Anyways,
whole thing.
yeah, sorry,
Anyway.
I wanted to mention that.
So that Weird West looks pretty cool. It didn't get great reviews, but I still want to play it. Callisto Protocol. Out of all of these, I think Callisto Protocol, just because that thing looks gorgeous. Like I mean, Jeff, you're playing like good graphics and everything.
Amazing graphics.
Yeah,
like the lighting is. There is a seizure moment, and I've never had a seizure moment before, but I had a seizure moment. So that was something, but it only happened one time because the lighting is so spectacular. Like, and I was just like, maybe my brain needed to adjust to this new fidelity, but the game is amazing looking. I will just caveat that with there is no performance mode. So this game will be running at, it can run at 4K or whatever, but I believe it's a dynamic 30 frames. So you're
even
gonna,
on PC.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You might want to check the PC when I played on PS5. The reason I say it was dynamic because this was not like a lock 30. Like this was much better than a lock 30. You fall into it very easily, but this is not going to be that high frame rate.
I'm a mark for Josh Duhamel. I just like him a lot. I don't care if it's World War II or outer space horror.
I mean, it is so gorgeous, such a gorgeous game.
So that's high on my list. I want to try Immortality. I think that would be a cool thing to check out. But so Callisto Protocol would be mine, and then Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, because I love the first one, and this one got fantastic reviews too, and I think that's going to be like just a fun thing. I just hate that I have a Steam Deck and I want to play the Steam Deck, but then it's like, hey, you want to play your Switch? Like, okay. And then the last one too, which just kind of came out of nowhere, and I was going to talk to you about this, John. Need for Speed Unbound apparently is like good.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
So we might need
heard that.
We might need to check that out.
Yeah. As a car game, I'd have to look into that.
Yeah,
one.
right.
Yeah, interesting. All right.
So I think that might kind of bridge it, where it's not necessarily like hardcore Forza, but
yeah.
I could have some fun with it. And
Yeah.
you get some use out of that wheel.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's intriguing.
I don't know if we pick. Maybe we just put the three that.
All right.
we
Yeah,
want on
I
there.
love that.
Yeah,
idea.
it's another super personal one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually go ahead and input Callisto Protocol on that one.
Okay.
And then how do you spell yours, Jeff?
AST LIBRA
LIB. Okay.
revision.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John. What was yours?
EL.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're loosey goosey with the rules on that one. I mean, what can you do? Pick one of those three? Sure. I think out of those three, I would be more interested to watch Jon play Elden Ring. If I'm being perfectly honest there, if we had to pick
Are you allowed
one.
to play with someone else? Is that cheating as well? Is that
No, I want you guys to have the experience that you want to have. So if you guys want to team up, you can team up up through the whole game.
Someone carry me.
We've talked about our series where we just have one life, right?
Yeah.
So like
in Elden Ring too?
Why not?
Yeah.
Like all these games are.
Did we
like
tell you
super hard or
about
whatever.
like how we want to play Tarkov?
Yes.
Yeah. Just create a whole backstory for each of our characters. We're like cousins or something in the Russian wilderness. Sure. We have like hunting rifles. We should see how far we get. Yeah, we should get domed 5 seconds in. Yeah, it's over.
All right.
What's next?
Shaking this up. We're an hour in,
way over,
and we have to. Okay.
Yeah, we'll speed it up a little bit.
So this is a fun one. Best boomerang game. So again, a lot of games came out in 2022. However, there are those few games that we just keep coming back to.
Yeah.
Regardless of date, like when they came out, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go first on this one actually, just because I feel like it's a no brainer for me. But I had 5 down here actually. But
I'll say, Tyler, you have a million.
No, that's true. But Sea of Thieves and Diablo 3. Those are my comfort foods. Those are I will curl up and always do that. Kind of go back to those. The only thing I'll say specifically for this year is Sea of Thieves. The group that I play with kind of fell off, so it's not nearly as fun without like a consistent time. And because it fell off and other people continue to get good, then you get dumpstered and it's this kind of like cycle of like, it doesn't feel good to play anymore. So that's starting to kind of wane a little bit. And then Diablo 3 is just one of those, hey, check in, do the season, get all the gear, and that's it. And that's starting to like slowly wear down, where it's good to go back in and like knock things out and kind of run through, like, go through the motions and don't have to think about something. Let's do a podcast or whatever. But those are my two.
Those are good too. All right, well, I guess I'll go. There's no surprise to anyone. I'm completely addicted to League of Legends. It's a huge problem I'm working on, but it's so weird too, because League's like not an easy game. So I feel like part of me is just like, I spent so much time learning this game and understanding it that it feels like a waste to like never play that. But it's also like, I don't know, like when League's going well, dude, it's like the best moments. Like, because it's such a challenging game where like the skill expression's super high and like the people you're playing against are potentially really good. So like when you beat someone like with pure skill, you've earned it. It's like, this was not easy and you beat them. So also, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I just think it's competitively, I think it's the best game personally. Just, through the team play dynamic, but individual skill expression is such a good balance. And then like just, the strategy involved as well. Where, there's a strategy before the game even starts with the characters you're picking. There's a strategy in the game about what objectives you want to take and when, and where you're grouping up with your team and how you combo your abilities with each other. It's just like infinite amount of possibilities that can happen, and no game's ever the same. So I don't know. I just always find something new I love about it and keep coming back to it, even though it's very rage-inducing as well.
What do you got?
So completely understand the League of Legends pick. That was the game that came to mind first when I read this category. However, I'm going to introduce a new game that somebody cursed me with, and that is Valorant. Someone convinced me
same company
to install this piece of shit with its terrible anti-cheat software that like is apparently incredibly intrusive to your PC, but now I'm hooked on another Riot game. So my daily is like trying to not play these games. So after stream, after work, I might get dinner, and then it's World of Warcraft Dungeons. Whenever I lose at those, I go to League of Legends. Whenever I lose at League of Legends, I now go to Valorant. And when I lose at Valorant, I just go back to World of Warcraft to lose again.
The cycle.
So these boomerang games, the one thing I will say about them is one of my least favorite things in games is RNG. I really don't like RNG. So when we think about League of Legends and Valorant, Valorant has almost no RNG. League of Legends really only has dragon spawns and maybe crit chance. That's really going to determine any type of outplay in a fight. So there's very little RNG in that. And in World of Warcraft, other than loot, there's very little RNG. So that usually is what makes a successful game for a Jeff or a me is if like you said, when you win, you won because of skill. I don't want anything. If I lose, I want it to be completely on me.
Yeah.
Or my jungler.
It's always the jungler's fault.
But yeah,
it's not the healer, it's the jungler.
Yeah, it's healer and WoW, jungler and
yeah. So
League.
that's my new boomerang is Valo.
All right.
Yeah, Valorant won a lot of awards in the esports realm this year, which I kind of predicted. It's been popping off, and it's interesting that Riot's having a focus on it upcoming. They give it the primetime spot over League of Legends, so it's kind of interesting how they're kind of favoring it. Anyways, there's my esports talk for the day.
do we just do the three? Do we say
we can do
League
the three.
of Legends, Valorant, Sea of Thieves?
That's fine.
It's funny. We probably should have just done that for all of these
As we go through it. Well, Tyler and I were talking before we started, and it's this is our first one.
Yeah,
so there's
we'll
growing pains, and we adjust as we go. So
my New Year's resolution, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, in an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
But I want to keep up with the games and just be and just really make it a discipline of oh, it's January, this thing came out, I have to play and beat this thing.
Yeah.
We'll
talk about that.
All right. So let's see. Hat shake again.
And
best gameplay.
Ooh.
It's a loaded one, and this is hard to separate best gameplay from game of the year, right? Obviously there's a big crossover there. Yeah. So, or do we feel comfortable talking specifically the gameplay loop? So gameplay meaning the actions you take within the video game, not no story and
right,
100% input, whatever you are doing,
completely technical.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Do you want to go first, Tyler? Because I might surprise you. There's kind of two schools of thought I have on this. Oh, you have a list of every game ever.
I was going to say.
Okay, never mind. So let me go.
Looking at my list. Tell you what. Well, let Jeff go first.
Okay, sure.
We'll just keep going around.
I wish that I had a more intriguing pick for this one, but you guys know who you brought on, and you know that I'm going to pick Elden Ring. You knew, if one of these categories you guys knew what I was going to pick, it was going to be this one. I adore From Software games, and I wasn't one of the early adopters. I came on at Dark Souls 3. I had to go back and play Dark Souls 1 and then Bloodborne and so on and so on. But Elden Ring absolutely crushed it for me. It delivered on everything that I wanted it to be and more. And this is another gush game. I almost can't put my thoughts together for how good I interpreted this game. I understand that some people had difficulty with it, but for me, when this game launched, we did a LAN party. So there was 5 of us playing this all in a basement. And it was so interesting to see where everyone went because everyone took a completely different path. And you know what my path was? When you load up Elden Ring, there is this boss that you are facing right away. And you are not meant to fight this boss. You are not meant to beat this boss. It two-shots you. And I spent my entire night fighting this boss, and I didn't beat it, and that's okay. And I loved every minute of it. While my other friends were off oh, look at this dungeon, I got this sweet thing, I'm level 6 now. I'm oh man, you won't believe it. I got this boss to 72%. This is great. This game rules. I just can't get enough of it, and I think what Elden Ring did so fantastically opposed to some of the other games was really opening up how you can play. You're not just having magic. You're not just having your heavy two-handed sword. All of these weapons. And actually, I would actually fault the game for giving you too many weapon choices. You almost create that League of Legends character in the game. You kind of have this persona. My persona, I had this holy scythe that let you jump into the air and come down with a combo. And it wasn't very overpowered, but it was for some reason, I connect to the scythe as a weapon. It's super cool. I'm jumping around. Like, it was just how I decided to play the game, and it felt very RPG. Like, I think that no other game in the history of gaming has done open world level design as good as Elden Ring. It is just, it's perplexing how they put some of these cities smack dab in this open world and say, oh, by the way, there's a completely like undiscovered dungeon that's so intricate that you're gonna have to like maybe draw it down in a journal or like go online to find the map. And for some people that can be very off-putty, but for me it's like I want this in games. I want discoverability. I want adventure. I don't want the linear path. I don't want the obvious. I want the, oh crap, maybe I went the wrong way this way. I'm gonna go left and see if left is the right answer. Oh, left and right are neither right or left is the right answer. I guess I'll go backwards or forwards. I love that. So that is my gush. I'll let you guys go.
No, it's a good pick, right? I'm always curious, if people who love From Software games, specifically about the gameplay, what it is that attracts them. Is it the skill expression that you're able to exhibit? Is it learning the patterns of a boss so you feel the progression of yourself getting better and understanding that? Is it, I know you talked about the exploration. I know that's a huge part of it as well. But what about the individual fighting that do you feel is your favorite aspect of it?
I think, again, that goes back to the customization part of Elden Ring. Like Elden Ring felt so different, especially apart from something like Bloodborne or I don't know why I'm blanking on the ninja one, but the ninja Sekiro, where there was you only had one build and it was you either beat the boss or not. This felt like, hey, you know what? If this weapon isn't working for this boss, let me try the faster build. Let me try the slower build, because you can kind of have multiple with the same stats. But for me, I think you hit the nail on the head with learning the boss like routine or choreography. It feels so good to be like, oh, I know what that wind up looks like. I actually don't have to hit the dodge button. I actually just have to step backwards. And one of my favorite bosses in Elden Ring is just a side boss, because you can completely take 0 damage from him if you utilize sprinting, dodging, blocking, parrying, and I think just straight up blocking. So like, whenever I learned how to do each one of those in correspondence to one of his very telegraphed actions, it made you feel like a god. So that is, I think, the learning the routine is what really drives me in those games.
You see those TikToks too, where it's just somebody just like walking just naked towards a boss and like inches a pixel out of the way and dodges something and just knocks their
the
attack
skill
away
expressions
and stuff. It's crazy.
Pretty cool. I do. Yeah, it is intriguing to me. Is it my go?
Yeah, what do you guys
for it? All right, so this might surprise you. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about Call of Duty again, because this year's Call of Duty, the gunplay feels so nice. There's a lot of great guns, and I haven't felt that way about a Call of Duty in many, many years. And there's just something that, oh man, when Call of Duty gets it right, the gunplay is just like butter. It just feels so good. The hit markers feel so good, like a clean headshot. But there's this other game that came out this year that I think it was early this year. I hope it was this year. Please correct if I'm wrong. Yeah. It's called Vampire Survivors.
Yes.
And this game is like pixel and just transported me back into my childhood. Like Flash games, like you go and like congregate and you play like these Flash games. And this was just like that. Simple premise, fun gameplay, tons of power-ups and upgrades.
Yep.
Nothing complicated. So addicting. So fun. Like you just pretty much, it's just a horde of monsters coming at you. And you start like really weak, shooting like one bolt, or like, I guess there's different characters, maybe like a throwing knife or something. And then you just progressively get more power-ups and more abilities as the game goes on. And by the end of the round or the game that you're playing, you're just a fucking god. Just, like
you don't even
laser beams going everywhere. Like the screen gets crazy. It's just so addicting just to see that. And it's really simple. Like anyone can pick up and play this game. It's not limited by skill cap or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, it really just reminded me of like these old Flash games that you would be in indoor recess, you'd go on, you just play it, you can play a couple rounds of Vampire Survivor, like it belonged back then, but it was in modern day. It was so much fun. So to me, that's like my what a perfect balance of simplicity and just pure fun.
See, that's actually I'm happy you said that. So Vampire Survivors is mine
Okay.
as far as actual gameplay, because I put quite a few things on the list, right? Like I'm talking like, hey, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Shredder's Revenge did a very good, like it's good gameplay in terms of what you would expect from that.
Right.
The reason, which we talked about before, the Vampire Survivors is it's very easy to pick up and play. It's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Period. Like every run is exactly 30 minutes. You know what you get, and you're like, oh, I have a lunch break. I'll do a run of this and whatever. But the problem is the run is always like, I could do another one, or you die. Like I could do this, and there's some discoverability. They keep updating it. They keep giving you more weapons, more characters, more levels, all that stuff, and it just spawns this new. I'm going to say new. I'm sure there's a game out there that it's very similar to it or something like that. But I would say this new genre of game where it's like people kind of reference it as like a reverse bullet hell, right? Where you're the one shooting the bullet.
Yeah.
And you just move and it just auto attacks. You don't have to worry about anything. It's so good and simple. And when you're talking about something as pure as just gameplay.
Yeah.
Instantly comes to mind,
because it's just gameplay. There's some progression elements obviously and upgrades, but at the core of it, it's just such fun gameplay that's all it needs.
Right.
It knows exactly what it is. So
yeah. And then one honorable mention, and this is still in early access, so I think this is something that we'll probably be talking about for next year. But have you guys heard of Backpack Hero?
No, please explain.
Backpack Hero, you are a pack rat, so you're a rat. And you have this backpack, and the whole idea is you go through. Did you ever play? What was it like? It's like a gothic game, and it's like an RPG, and you have to like pick different attacks. And it's like you walk through like a it's dungeon something maybe. Crap, I'll have to think about it. But it's like a turn-based like RPG-ish thing, but you're just walking in a straight line. You come up against an enemy, you pick attacks, they pick attacks, you kill them, and you just keep moving forward. And Backpack Hero is very similar to this, but the whole premise is you just keep picking up these items that are different sizes, and think like the Resident Evil inventory system, and you have to fit them in your backpack in such a way so you want to keep all your stuff and get it in your backpack. Now, the fun thing is the different items that are next to each other will interact with each other, and that's how you form attacks. So, for instance, if you pick up an arrow on your adventures and you put an arrow in your backpack, good, you have an arrow, but until you find like a bow, you can't shoot that arrow. But once you find the bow, then you start moving the stuff around. So, like, you'll get special bows where it's like any arrow to the left of the bow gets a +1 damage. So now you're taking this strategy of, okay, well, I want to keep all my arrows to the left of the bow, and that takes the entire backpack. But then it's like, okay, but then if I put this like a pendant above the bow and arrow, I get a +5 to the bow and arrow, which then stacks to the arrows. However, if I have a pendant, then I lose armor. But if I have this boot, like I'm making a lot of that stuff up, but like it's finding the best way to organize your stuff. And the kind of fun thing is you only have so much space, and obviously like if you're bringing a shield to the fight, that's like 6 spots, so it makes you a tank, but then you have very little attack and stuff like that. So you can be like a glass cannon, you can be kind of this tanky guy. It's really fun, but it's in early access. It's called Backpack Hero, something to check out. But my pick is Vampire Survivors. So anyway, so we'll put Elden Ring and Vampire Survivors as best gameplay.
What a duo!
What a duo!
Yeah, it's
the duality of video games. That is funny.
It's.
I mean, there's some other like really, God of War, obviously great gameplay, but I don't know, man. There's something that really
White's
stuck.
fantastic.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about that is so pure.
Okay, so after I shook up the hat yet again, our number 7 category.
Getting pretty quick at
best.
Shaking up the hat.
Yeah, no, I just we're moving. Best backlog game. So this is a game that has not. This came out prior to 2022.
Yeah.
We've been meaning to play it. We heard it was good, or just curious about it.
Yeah.
Finally got around to playing it in 2022. Jeff, you want to start?
I can certainly start, and I went with Cyberpunk 2077.
There it is.
I adored this game. And honestly, talking to some of my friends who were like, oh, I didn't connect with the side quest, or the game started to fall short after the lengthy introduction, and I'm not going to get into spoilers, but once you detach from a certain character, and it kind of, some people say it goes downhill. I'm not going to name names, but I think that this game it never lost me. It never once lost me, and I even played. I talk about how I always play brutes. I'm a brute in real life. I'm like this lumbering lumberjack, whatever, lumbering lumberjack. I played like this hacker girl named V who like could take out enemies from super far away and do tech stuff, which I never do, and I absolutely loved it. But more so than anything else, I kind of talked about this with Johnny Silverhand. I just connected with this story so much, like this anti-corpo, anti-system, like stick it to the man kind of thing. And yes, they might be terrorists, but for some reason I'm on their side. Like, I completely fell into this world. I thought it was one of the most unique worlds ever. And I know John and I, we talked about how interesting like GTA's world is, and how realized it was. I think that even Cyberpunk does a better job of at least creating a world, maybe not making you feel like you're living in it, but to take a Cyberpunk aesthetic and create this, even though it is an existing IP and property and tabletop game, I think CD Projekt Red did a fantastic job once all the bugs were worked out with this game. I bawled my eyes out. At every ending, I've never had an end screen. It wasn't even the end screen or the story. It was like the credits rolling, and there's this thing that happens during the credit sequence that I won't get into, but it felt
we all played it, right?
Yep.
I mean, if you want to skip ahead,
did you beat it?
Yeah, I did beat it. Yeah. So if you want to skip ahead, listeners, for like 30 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about what happens to a character, but at the credit sequence, there's a character that dies. Almost no matter what ending you pick, there's always someone that dies. And during the credit sequence, there is a voice recording of all of the characters' friends calling that character that died. And those people may or may not know that character has died. They might just be checking in on them. They might be talking about what, the last thing that they did together was. And it is so wholesome. It is so moving. I'm getting chills in my legs right now just thinking about like what those characters said to each other. Like, hey, like I hope you're doing well. I really enjoyed, what we did the last time we were together. I was sobbing on stream. I was just a wet noodle, just like I almost couldn't understand why I was crying because of how moving these human interactions were, even though this is like a cyberpunk world and emotions all out the door and sex sells and it's crazy. At the end of the day, there were very human elements to this game. And man, did I love Cyberpunk 27. I can't wait for the DLC.
Yeah,
Idris Elba's going in there, yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah. No, that's a great pick. I really enjoyed Cyberpunk as well, and I think it's a fantastic game. If it was fully realized, I think, there's some aspects that could have, like, if it was the Cyberpunk world with the GTA, like, quality.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite game of all time. Like, on paper, this is, like, everything I want in a game. I love the aesthetic, the, like, atmosphere it is. I love the city. I just love everything about it. And it is, I did love the game. It's not that I didn't love the game, but it is, it's, like, right up my alley, just how it is. But I played 2 games this year that I should have played a long time ago. But so picking between these 2 is tough. So I played a game. Anyone who knows me, I don't like puzzle games. I just think they're boring and I suck at them. So I like never play them. But Portal is like kind of an exception. Like Portal is just like a legendary game. So Tyler's like, you got to play Portal. So I like played Portal 1. And I was like, yeah, this is a really cool concept. It's really interesting. Like the dialogue is really funny. GLaDOS, right? Yeah. She's like the best part of the game, obviously. And it's like, all right. But it's like, I don't know. Portal 1's kind of like it seems like a demo. You know what I mean? Like it's like there's not much to it.
It's quick, yeah,
but it's good. And then you play Portal 2, and it's like, what just happened? Like it just totally opens everything up. There's this crazy story that goes on. Like, oh my gosh, it was just so wild. I just did not expect to like how well done the characters are. You're talking like robots the whole time, but they're like the most fleshed out.
Yep.
Character. The voice acting's fantastic. The puzzles are really interesting and how they add unique elements every time. But to me, it was like the story and like the dialogue, really, like when they're talking to you, and like your character doesn't talk. It's all just like they're talking at you, and it's like the funniest lines. The history of like the place you're trapped in, like when you go down to the basement or whatever, it's just everything is just so well done. So that was something I really considered. I didn't expect to enjoy Portal 2, but I totally get it now why it's so legendary. But I also played Lord of the Rings. Shadow of War. That's the second one, right?
War, yeah.
Shadow of
You
War.
went with the second, yeah.
And as good as Portal 2 is, this game just clicked with me, dude. It's brutal. It's like you're chopping orcs up. You're just you're like a god. You're just too powerful. It's like super sweet. And it has like one of my favorite game mechanics I've ever seen in a game, where you can like recruit orcs and you attack fortresses and like you gain rivals. And it's like this natural thing where it's just like these natural stories kind of come up where like I'll never forget, like there's this orc who's like all about natural whatever, the natural world, and prays to the serpent or something, I forget. And then I kill him and he comes back, like his arm is like metal now, and he's like slowly every time I kill him he just replaces another body part with metal, and now he like gets the nickname the Machine. And it's like this, it was like, to me, it was like in my head canon, I'm like, he like replaces his whole body and soul with machines, and he's like fucks the natural world. Like he's all about like, I will do whatever it takes to beat you now. And it's like so amazing. And Shadow of War was so fun. The story's not great. It's like so vanilla.
I think the first one was better story-wise, but I knew that the gameplay, like the mechanics, and just from you, like
the story's not great,
good,
but the gameplay aspects are just so amazing. What is it? The Vengeance system? Is that what it's called? Or
Nemesis?
Nemesis system. Thank you. And oh my god, it is just so fun creating your army.
Yep.
Having those nicknames of the orc, they all have a personality. It is so amazing.
And I'm sure that like the more you spend with it, the more you can start seeing the little cogs moving in the game part of it, where it's like, oh, okay, so this is the generator here, and this does this. But I feel like that game doesn't necessarily wear out its welcome. Like if you did everything, it'd probably get worse the more you played it.
Yeah.
But I think you played it enough where you had like your story. And it'd be very similar to other people's, but like the names are different, the way you interact with them is different, your gameplay is different. Like
it was so personal to me, and I remember those little stories about like the unique orcs that I just remember. Like there's this guy cut his head off, and usually like once you decapitate someone, they're done. They're out.
That's
can't come back
usually how the world,
And then he comes back with his head sewn on. And I was like, what the fuck? It was just crazy. Like those things just stick out to me. It's like so wild, but oh man, I love that game. So that's my pick. Sorry, that was a little long-winded.
So my pick is tough because I kept like, oh, I played it, but it's this weird thing where like some games kind of first came out this year on the PC platform, so I don't know how all that works and stuff. So I have one, and you talking about orcs, just it made me like, oh, I did play this. So Orcs Must Die 3. Look, I'm not gonna like fight for this is like the best game in the world, but I very much enjoy it. Have you ever played Orcs Must Die?
I have
Jeff?
never played Orcs Must Die.
It's a tower defense game. It's just normal. You're a third person running around shooting orcs with your bow or whatever, and you just lay down a bunch of traps and just try to murder orcs in these creative ways. And way better with friends. No one played it with me, so I played it solo. But I had a blast. Like it was fun. It was just like this dumb, like, oh, I'm actually okay. Like try to get the 3 stars, very mobile game-esque, but like it was just a really well crafted, put together game. And I feel bad because this was a Stadia exclusive back in 2020, where it's just it's a dumb like, hey, we should play this for a day.
I just love. I mean, that's like to me, that's like the essence of video games, right?
Yeah.
It just reminds us like video games is an amazing medium because like the highs are like so like you have like a God of War where it's like this is a masterpiece. The quality is amazing. It looks amazing. It feels amazing. The voice acting is amazing. But then you have like Orcs Must Die 3. It's like this is what video games is all about. Or like Vampire Survivors.
Yep.
Dumb fun, simple, turn my brain off, just have a good time. And I always appreciate those types of games. I think it's super important. You need both ends of the spectrum,
you need like
right?
a solid like B game to kind of like.
Just I don't know, man. It's like
whatever.
that's how the medium was born in my.
I'm just saying. Turns out most games I played this year actually came out this year. So I was going through everything. Like, man, I thought this was gonna be an easy one.
Yeah,
but it's like, nah, it's pretty tough.
All right, so
cool.
good picks.
Yeah,
good picks.
Okay, so next one is.
Oh my god, we gotta move this along.
Oh, you mean we're halfway in 2 hours in? Yeah. Okay, most disappointing game of the year. I have a couple.
Let's hear him.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know if I
got one. Too.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
I
I have two knives at my throat. One guy never even played it.
I did.
Okay.
I could just hear our audience.
Yeah, hold on. All right, so I'm just going to run down this list. Diablo Immortal.
Yep. Makes sense.
So that's basically the mobile version of Diablo. I love Diablo. Obviously, it's keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
Diablo Immortal, not fun.
Yep.
Dying Light 2 Stay Human. I love the original Dying Light. I bounced off this game. I probably tried it 2-3 times, and I just could not enjoy this game. And I don't know why, because on paper it should be fine. It's just this open world. I just felt like it just was. I don't want to say soulless because I always feel bad for like developers because like obviously they're putting their soul into these games, but it did not capture what the first one did for me, where it was just like, oh, I love this, I love the momentum, the movement, all like it just for whatever reason, like it's well made. It just I was disappointed. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands,
Ooh.
I liked it. I was disappointed in like the end game because it was supposed to be this like, oh, you do all this stuff and then you unlock the end game. And I'm thinking like Diablo, this repeatable thing. You can keep playing Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, but there's no reason to. Like, you're just like, oh, you can make it tougher. Cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
Which I know is a little hypocritical, me liking Diablo so much, because like Diablo's the same way. Like you're just getting slightly better increases. It just, for whatever, Diablo feels better. Mario Strikers Battle League. Holy crap, that is a rough, like, you beat that game in 30 minutes, and then there's nothing else. There's no story, there's no, like, it's just all online, all based off of your friends. If you can't convince your friends to go out and buy a Switch specifically for this game and play with you, then you're just out of luck. So that was very disappointing, and I'm actually going to put both Pokemon games on here, both Arceus and... Am I saying that? Is it Arceus or Arceus? Arceus?
I think it is Arceus.
Yeah, Arceus and Violet and Scarlet. I'm leaning more towards Arceus on that one just because that's the one I actually played. I watched Chelsea play Scarlet and Violet. I think she played it one day and hasn't picked it up since then.
Yeah.
And I just know that people were not happy with the performance and how janky that thing was and stuff like that. Anyway, so if I had to pick from all of these, I would probably say that I'm going to say Dying Light 2 actually is my most disappointing game, just because I was actively looking forward to that one. Like I was actually excited when that came out. I'm like, I'm going to take the week off. This is what I'm going to be playing. And it's just like I played it over that weekend. I'm like, I'd rather work. Like that's where I was like, I'm not going to waste my time off to play this specifically.
Yeah.
So that was mine. What do you guys got?
You want to go, Jeff?
Oh crap! I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
The thing wasn't done yet. Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe Edition. Great game. Still disappointing because I thought it was going to be
more
better somehow. And the irony is they specifically are saying it's not going to be that. But then my dumb brain is like, it's going to be more. And it's like, no. That game's great if you've never played it before. But since I played the original, I don't think there was enough there.
Too much overlap?
I think so. I think they do a good job with it. It's just, for whatever reason, I was disappointed, and I feel bad saying that because they do it very, very well. I was just still disappointed coming out of it.
Sure.
and then Stray.
Stray.
Look, Stray, everyone was saying was the best thing since sliced bread, and I played it, and it's good. It's fine.
It's a cat.
It's not. I will. That's going to be on my tombstone. Loving husband. Stray was not game of the year.
Oh man,
I can't believe how many nominees it got.
It
was
from the less popular
so
shows.
overhyped,
Insane, man.
yeah.
Like I put in, I'm.
On the Golden Joystick Awards, it won Best PlayStation Game of the Year.
That's insane.
That's come on, better than God of War and Horizon. That's nuts.
Did Miles Morales come out this year?
No.
Okay.
All right, Jeff, would you like to?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
I'll just follow up. I have two here, kind of falling into the most disappointing and worst of the year. But I'll start. For me, most disappointing was 100% Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and I think that is such a deserving award. I don't know what Game Freak and Nintendo are doing here. I cannot believe that they have the most popular IP on Earth and yet continue to put out a subpar product, and people buy it because they're just so hopeful. They want this to be something special. And yes, the Pokemon on there, but that's all you get are the Pokemon. The world is completely vague and passionless, and I want to say these games start off by feeding a legendary Pokemon a hoagie, and I don't even care if that's spoilers. That's how dumbed down these games are, where you feed the Pokemon a hoagie, and that's how your adventure starts. There's no character customization. You're wearing this school uniform. It completely takes away any type of customization or embodiment into the character. Yeah, like I mean, there's some clothes you can get, but it's like really lackluster. And in 2022, you got to give me something, man. You gotta give me something. And I tell this all the time. Any art director can do a better job than the art director that's at Game Freak. And I'm sorry, whoever you are, but come on, man. Like, just look at the movies. Even Detective Pikachu was more inviting into that world than any of the video games have been since, I would say, the DS era. But we're not a Pokemon podcast. That is just, I'm sad.
We're almost a Pokemon podcast.
One thing to note too, because it sounds, obviously, John, you want to put yours up too. Like, it's worth noting, Temtem came out this year.
I know.
So, like, as far as what you want that core experience to be, now I played it when it was in early access, but I felt that was a little bit more akin to kind of like what we were looking for from like a Pokemon game, where like, your rival's your rival and actually wants to beat you.
Yeah.
You actually have to heal up after you do the battles and different things. You have to pick the Pokemon that you want, or Temtems that you want to like level up and stuff like that. But what do you got, John?
Did you have another one?
I just have one more honorable mention for worst game of the year. Callisto Protocol is awful. That game is foul.
Well, that's my most anticipated.
I'm sad about it because it is so gorgeous. They have the setup. They have everything that should make this game phenomenal, and they just drop the ball. They drop the ball with gameplay. They drop the ball with weapon advancement. They drop the ball with enemy design. They drop the ball in everywhere that you think it shouldn't, and this game falls incredibly short. I finished this game yesterday, and I finished stream. I was saying goodbye, guys, and I realized I had already forgotten the main character's name. Like, nothing. You don't care about the main character at all. You don't care what's happening because you have no frame of reference of who any of the people are.
You didn't play Dead Space 2.
I only played Dead Space 3.
Yeah, so you played it when it was like
dying.
Bad, yeah. Okay.
The reason I played Callisto Protocol was so that I can have a frame of reference for the Dead Space 1 remake coming out in January. Or maybe it's February. But I'm hoping Dead Space.
I would be interested to see, because I played Dead Space 1. I didn't get super into it, but Dead Space 2, for whatever, and I don't like horror games at all, but Dead Space 2 I loved. And could I tell you the story of it? No. I just like the gameplay and the way I felt when playing that. I loved it, which is why I was excited for Callisto Protocol. Because I'm like, oh, well, I could recapture that a little bit. And if it's really gorgeous, I'm a whore for graphics, so like, sure. But But that's disappointing. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I can shout out the Helix Station podcast, which is a six episode narrative prequel to the Callisto Protocol video game. The podcast narrative is awesome. Yeah. It's like this super engrossing story, and then you get to the game and you're like, where'd this story go? Why don't they tell me anything about any of these characters? And this is an 8 to 9 hour game that felt like 40. So
yikes. Okay.
I am dumping on this game. I'm sorry if you guys like it, but just know what you're getting into. And if it's your thing, it's going to be your thing. If it's not, I don't think it should be anyone's thing. But
sorry, John, not spending the full money on it.
Yikes.
All right,
what do you got, John?
Yeah, so I wasn't sure what I was going to pick for this one, but after Tyler rattled off his list, my pick's Tiny Tina's. And it's not because it's a bad game. It's because my expectation of what the game was going to be was like different than what it was. And that's just because I'm dumb. Because it was supposed to be like D&D, so I thought there was going to be like more of those elements incorporated, but it was like, oh no, it's just Borderlands with a D&D skin.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, that's not what I really wanted. So disappointing in that respect, even though it's my fault. But it was still a fun game. I just wish they went harder into the D&D aspect of it, I guess. I think that would have been more interesting. But like some of the stuff they did was really creative. Like you have spells, that's always cool, and instead of like grenades, right? And then some of that stuff. But
even that, it's like there was still a 1-to-1.
It's the same. Yeah, it's literally a skin.
Yeah.
A D&D skin game. Like it seems like, I don't know. It seems like a DLC, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is they made that DLC and they're like, oh, people seem to like this. And then it's like,
well, right.
Yeah.
So that's my pick.
Gotcha.
Again, not a bad game, but
do we need to pick one of these or no?
Nah.
Okay.
I feel like we're on the train now.
We all have our own
picks.
Yeah. Moving along. All right, sure. Okay, cool. So let's see here. So I didn't have a worst game of the year. If you want to put it as Callisto Protocol, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
We'll kind of skip that
one. It's a good pick.
Best story is what the hat is telling me now.
Yeah, this is Jeff. Why don't you go first?
Yeah.
What are you doing with that giant manuscript that you're pulling out?
No, I'm gonna keep it.
I'm kidding. Do whatever you want.
I am again God of War. I was, and I finished the game. I played on platinuming it. What I'm intrigued about is people are telling me that there is a secret ending, or you understand more of the ending once you fully complete the game. So what I mean by that is I have finished the last boss. I've rolled credits, but I still have some side missions left. I have some optional bosses. Yes. Okay. So you don't have to like scum save or have a backup. You can just continue after you beat the game. But I'm really intrigued as to what this secret knowledge, like there's this secret fountain like waiting for me on a game that I already thought could not get better narratively. And I'm going to be frank, I don't think God of War does very many good things outside of its narrative. I think it is strictly a narrative game at this point. I think its gameplay is actually lackluster in a lot of ways. And that's really weird to say because I know a lot of people like God of War gameplay. I'm just not one of those people. But this narrative was so good. And the character, not even twists, but how they evolve. And when you hit that ending, and there is a part that you see that, in my mind, completely changed Kratos and completely changed Atreus. And it's not like this slap you in the face, this is the ending. It's this very subtle moment that I hope to have sometime in my adulthood myself that was so breathtaking to me. And again, I'm not a crier. I'm on the Lexapro. I shouldn't be able to cry. But
it cuts through the Lexapro and gets your waterworks going. Yeah.
And I am sitting there in stream on camera, recorded, bawling my eyes out. And I said, guys, you know what? While credits are rolling, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to go wash my face, grab a drink, grab a snack, kind of cool down because I was so disheveled. I come back and on screen, I see Kratos' face and like some of these other characters, and I just instantly start crying again because it was so moving. So
So Nate told me you did that, and that's one of the deciding factors when I was out for Black Friday. And I'm like, oh, just buy a PlayStation. That's fine. Like I have to, right? Like we have to do it, right?
So that is my best narrative or story. Not super creative, I know.
No, I echo that.
I mean.
I just want to call out so I started a Plague Tale Requiem before God of War. And then I was like, well, we're going to be talking about God of War. I have to play God of War. However, I have not stopped thinking about Plague Tale Requiem, and I keep thinking about how excited I am to go back to it because I think it has one of the most intriguing openings. Like it like highs, lows. It does like the little like we're gonna play hide and seek where you're like doing like a tutorial and stuff, but they work it so well in the characters and the graphic. Like it's so good of an opening that like I can't wait to get back to that. So like, am I willing to say it's the best narrative ever? I can't because I'm not anywhere near far enough in it. But that first impression was so good. Like I think it needs to be at least mentioned. So basically, I echo everything you say with God of War.
Plus,
but if we're just putting each of our own things here, I'm going to use my slot for a Plague Tale.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Similar to you, I'm not deep enough in God of War to put that, but of course, there's nothing wrong with mentioning that. I mean, it's that quality, but I'm going to go back to Horizon on mine, kind of mirroring my thoughts with the moment. I just was really surprised at how much I enjoyed the narrative. Like Jeff was talking about, I was not sure where they were going to go after the first one. I thought we kind of discovered all there was to discover. The huge twist was kind of, out there now. So just seemed like there was no room left. And they proved me wrong and broke down the wall. And now I'm like super excited to see where it goes from here. So I just want to shout that out. I know it's probably not as good as God of War, but I just thought it made such a leap in the series. At this point,
it makes me want
very
to play
fascinating to me. Yeah, I think it's really good. So
I think what Horizon did is something that I can't even count on one hand the amount of games that have tried to do. I think that type of story in their kind of like sci-fi universe is so unique. Like it's not this interstellar like crazy galactic like sci-fi adventure, but it's a very like Earth sci-fi adventure.
It's believable. Like you could see it actually happening.
It's like a sci-fi, but it's also like primitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like what like you would never think that would go together.
Right.
And it's beautifully blended. Yeah.
It is when that moment hit and what you're talking about with where the second one goes, it is just when I was streaming, I was telling people, I said, I haven't played a game like this, I don't think ever. It is so, I'm so happy that this story just exists. It should exist.
Yeah. It's like one of those things that's like, I feel like we'll never run out of good stories.
Yeah.
You think you've seen it all, and then it's like, I love these. You're like, I never would have thought they would go there. And it's like, I don't know. So that's my pick.
Awesome. All right. This one is going to be pretty much Jeff leading it, but best streamable game.
Yeah.
I was actually
It's like we put this on here for someone specific.
Yeah.
I was dreading this category, right? Because the reason I was dreading it was because this.
You didn't want to put Elden Ring down again?
I know. Exactly. I didn't want to put Elden Ring down. But I think the reason why this is such a tough category is because the best streamable game could mean something completely different depending on who's streaming, right? So Amaranth or Amaranth, I don't even know how to say her name. Her best streamable game is anything from like a kiddie pool, like because she's gonna make millions of dollars in a bikini.
It's my favorite game,
right? And then like I don't know. So like obviously like a top tier gamer is gonna be playing like something super skillful, and people are going to tune in and have a really good experience with him because he's super good at games. Me and my small community, the best streamable games were things that we could discuss, things that got people talking because the community is so small. So one of the games that I thought really engaged my community was the Stanley Parable Deluxe Edition. And I'm not
okay.
And
wow.
Not because this was the most fantastic game, like you said, like it might have been a lackluster. This was the first time I played it, so a lot of this stuff was new. I will say the stuff that came with the Deluxe Edition for me did not hit as hard as the original game. I kind of felt like I was done with it with some of the deluxe stuff. But this game was such a unique experience, and people would come into my chat and be like, "Yo, what did you just do?" And like, "Why is that baby on fire?" And I was like, "I don't know why the baby's on fire. Does the baby represent me in my like adolescence or like trying to become an adult, but I can't do it? Like, I don't know what the baby represents." And then it's like, "Oh, but you're back at the beginning again." That it just had like a lot of WTF moments that me and my community could kind of bond over. And it wasn't my most successful streaming game. Like my most successful streaming game of the year was probably either Cyberpunk or Elden Ring, just because of what the event of Elden Ring was with that release. But for me, Stanley Parable was a super unique experience that not a lot of people played, so they were very willing to watch because there aren't really these spoilery moments that a lot of single-player games have that turn people off from watching a story-driven game. And it was a great way to engage my community.
Nice.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
but
okay. That was you could have put a gun to my head. And like,
but when you talk about the reasoning behind it, that makes a lot of sense. And that's a game like that where there's like so many choices and the wackiness and craziness, it really sparks the conversation. So, all right, Tyler, you're up. I know you had a little streaming phase for a little bit.
Put Neon White in there. I mean, look, if you're streaming a game, and you have. And to be fair, this is all theoretical because I have no friends playing this game. But the idea of streaming it and trying to beat other streamers on a leaderboard, that'd be my pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't stream, so.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, no.
I was like trying to think, when did I stream Grandia 2? And I think it was last year, so it might not count. But that would be... I had a couple viewers at one point.
The hat is telling me worst game of the year, which we are just going to give to Callisto Protocol.
Yes.
So congratulations, Josh Duhamel.
Yikes.
The next one is best multiplayer.
Mm.
Go ahead, John.
Okay. Yeah. So for this one, I went with Call of Duty again. It just invoked this feeling of like back in the day where, for a while, all the guys were getting on, and it was a point where it's like no one's like asking if you're getting, like everyone was just getting on, and then we were all playing, and it's like, I don't know, it was like a lot of nostalgia and just a lot of fun, and it's always fun, like, oh, well, what attachments do you guys like? What guns do you guys think is good? And you're like sharing all this knowledge that you guys are like
74 U2?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's what I have.
I don't know. I just always love that experience. So, like I said earlier in the show, this Call of Duty is the first one in a long time that really got those feelings flown for me again. So this is another aspect of it. I know there's a lot of things we complain about it, but really, just playing with the boys again, it was my favorite multiplayer experience, at least.
When it works, it works.
Right.
And they're typically in Call of Duty games, you have these maps where you're like, oh, I hate this map, or oh, I can't believe we play that. There wasn't a single one that I was like, I hate this map. Like there are certainly ones I like more than others. But, yeah.
I really enjoyed the maps this time around.
Like the modes, everything, yeah.
Like comparing to like the classic ones, those are like legendary maps, right? That you still remember to this day and like your favorite spots. But like, it's been downhill since then, but this is like the first one in a while. Like I said, the maps are like pretty cool. They're unique. They're pretty balanced. They're recognizable. Like I'm starting to remember the maps. Like they're, they stick out. So
like you know where you're looking and what you can do, and like there are good,
just smart. It's really intelligently laid out. So that's my pick. I know that I've mentioned that game quite a bit, but I really enjoyed it. So.
I'm gonna throw Splatoon 3 in there real quick. Like it won Best Multiplayer from Game Awards.
Yeah.
I was very surprised and actually delighted that it won Best Multiplayer, because I think that is a perfect example where Nintendo does Nintendo's thing, and it would be weird where it's like, oh, every 2 hours the maps rotate, but you literally only have 2 maps to play on every 2 hours, and you think like that's gonna get boring. But like you learn your strategy, and every match is only 3 minutes. So like even if you're getting just dumpstered, you know it's gonna be over in like a minute and a half, and you don't have to worry about it, right?
Right.
And you want to try new things, and they open that up for you, and it's just like aside from the progression, which is very slow, and some bizarre thing like outside of the multiplayer, I would say. But the multiplayer itself, surprisingly, especially for a Nintendo game, works pretty well. And it's so fun. Like I would love to get into that where it's like we have a set squad, and I feel like if you have people you jive with, you know, like, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. Like, I feel like you could just dumpster people, and it's always fun in a multiplayer game. But yeah.
I'm really glad that Splatoon is getting these accolades.
Yeah.
I think it is a long time coming and very well deserved.
Yeah.
Are we moving on to mine?
Yeah, it's all you. We're looking at you, man. Go for it.
Of course, mine is going to be World of Warcraft Dragonflight. I've already mentioned the raid, what happened on Wednesday, Tuesday, but World of Warcraft does something to me. It's like if my candle is out, it lights my candle. Like, maybe that was a weird metaphor.
No, I'm with you.
But the other thing that World of Warcraft Dragonflight does is it did take me back a couple expansions. It almost like not retcon the story, but this feels like a game that was released in World of Warcraft's heyday. This feels like Lich King to me, where everything is clicking. The game is doing things to get the community together, to play together, even though you might not want to group with them. Like, you see tons of players all over the place because of these community events. There's this one community event where you have to cook a soup together. And it's this giant pot of soup with this like tusked guy, like this walrus guy, and he's a chef. And you stand around waiting for the chef to give you orders. And the order could be tenderize the fish. So these giant fillets of fish come out, and everyone, 30-some people in the zone are all attacking this fish to tenderize it. So that, and then whenever it's tenderized, it goes into the pot. And then, but some other people might be getting orders to like stir the pot. So then you jump into the pot and you spam stir, and you see all these people stirring the pot. And I know that this sounds so lame and weird, but it is like what makes a multiplayer MMO, well, an MMO. It forces the community together to do weird things, goofy things, sometimes really epic things, sometimes some not so epic things. But you make friends along the way, and that is why Dragonflight is my multiplayer game of the year.
Find a game you feel the same way Jeff feels about World of Warcraft, man. It's like, also, I don't know if you can tenderize fish. Is that real? You tenderize meat.
I feel like you can tenderize fish.
I feel like you can tenderize anything.
I feel like it's a missed opportunity. You should be able to like jump into the cauldron and then do like a wave. Like you just all like running around.
A whirlpool.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Good picks.
Almost there. We have the next game is Best Style. I would like to just throw up Neon White there. It is anime as heck.
Nothing you say makes sense to me.
Yeah,
it's like you hate a game because it's anime, and then you love this game because it's anime.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like the style itself is it never goes away from that style. So from the menus to the music to like everything, it is very, very cohesive and jives well with each other. Like, like some game, and honestly I would say the most recent one would be like a Street Fighter 6 scenario where like the fonts choices that they're using and even the logo doesn't look good. I know they had all the controversy with the logo. It's like it looks like you got off of like a stock photo site or whatever. And these pieces don't add up correctly, but this game, just everything about it is just so well done. I think it kind of harkens to like a Persona 5-esque thing where Persona 5 had a ton of style. This one just does a very, very good job. That's mine. I don't have to fight for it if we're just all getting one on the list.
Right.
I just wanted to shout
out
that. Yeah.
I know you really like that game. Jeff, you want to?
Sure. I got a kind of a out of nowhere one for me at least, and that's Pentiment for Best Style. this is a really strange one, and it kind of has an aesthetic of the only way I can describe it would be Catholic stained glass window, and maybe that doesn't even do it. Maybe like Old English. It's very hand drawn. It's very cartoony, very 2D, but at the same time like traditional, almost fairy tale esque. And if we're talking about font, like the font all falls in line, but something just. It really stuck out to me. Not a lot of games look this way, especially when we're falling into this 2.5D pixel art. Like you're seeing a trend with all these games coming out, and I'm not diminishing that. They all look gorgeous and do fantastic things, but we're seeing Pentiment come out with this style that I haven't seen very often at all. And I went to Catholic school all the way up until 12th grade. So I was, preschool to 12th grade. That's a lot of imagery that is like burned in my brain of pictures of priests and friars and drawings and Bible study and all this stuff. And even though I'm removed from that now, when I saw the trailer for Pentiment, all those kind of memories came rushing back, and playing through it kind of gave me that simplistic life of an artist. Like I want to be in some way that simple friar who's just in charge of drawing, the three wise men or something, like on stained glass day in, day out. Like it just connected with me. So that is my best style, with runner-up being Sifu. I thought Sifu's kind of self-shadiness was really intriguing. I, again, probably could have done more with the world, maybe wish I had a little bit more and a little bit less in some areas. But there are some stylistic choices in Sifu that really resonated with me.
Even the way that they have contextual fights and different things like that, where it can, depending on like your location, I don't know if you saw Sifu stuff, but like if you were fighting a dude and he's like, I'm making it like next to a bottle on a corner, you like pick up the bottle and smash it, but you hit the same input. So it's very contextualized based off of like the location, which I could argue would be the style of like the combat and animation too. So it's cool. Yeah.
Interesting. No, that's good.
I forgot about Pentiment. That's another game that I want to play for next year.
Yeah.
It's worth experiencing.
Yeah.
All right. So the game I chose is an indie title, and the title is Norco. It got really good ratings on Open Credits, and it's like a point and click adventure. So Tyler's like, "Hey, why don't you check this one out? It's got really good ratings." The style of this game is like really fascinating to me. It was really interesting and really stuck out to me. It's like a pixelated style, but what really does it for me is the color palette that they use. Like they use these really warm color palette, like these nice oranges, things of this nature. But it's like they do it in a way where it's like warm but sad. It's like this really interesting mix of emotions, because it's like this kind of rundown place that you play in, and it's like kind of depressing and stuff like that. And there's like this big organization that like has all the capital, and everyone else is super poor. And so it was really fascinating. Also, that combined with so there's no speech in the game. It's all like, I don't know, these weird noises when characters talk, and it's like really jarring and like expressive, because every character will talk, different, and these interesting sounds. So the sound design combined with like the art of the game, I like when I was describing it to Tyler when we were talking about it, it like reminds me of like, paintings. It's like very deliberate, and the way they used colors was like really interesting to me, like combined with the pixel style. And then like I said, on top of that, the sound design, just really stylish, very unique, and stuck out to me. So that would be my pick. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Nice.
What do we got, Tyler?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I did Neon White for... Wait, what are we talking about? We're talking about style, right?
Style, yeah.
So I did Neon White, right?
Yeah.
You went already. I didn't know if we were moving on to
another
next
one.
category.
Okay, next category. I'm sorry. I didn't know if we were like, cool, and then do the whole, hey, we're shaking a hat. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm zoning out. All right. Next one, we are doing Best Developer.
That's all you, boss. I'm not good with like the developer side of things. So
developer is a little weird because, like Riot's done a pretty good year this year. I don't know if all the political stuff going on with Riot, or social politics, maybe we don't put them on a pedestal. So this is a tough one. The two that I wanted to do a quick shout out for. I'm trying to find my list here. Wait, I'm sorry. This is good pod. Where is it at? Here it is. Okay. So Habby, again, I don't know if Habby is a good social practice developer, but they created a mobile game called Survivor.io, which is basically Vampire Survivors. I think that it is designed in such a way that it has its own spin. They have their own weapons and styles and all the different things you can do. It, of course, has ads, but I think the nice thing about this game, and this is why I thought of them, is they're not like you have to see an ad every 5 seconds. Like you actually never have to watch an ad if you don't want to, which I think is fantastic. And I think that I haven't spent a cent on this game, and I feel like my progression was never hindered. So I will always give a developer extra credit for that. And then the other one would be, I think it's called, is it Poncol or Ponsol? I don't know, but they're the developers of Vampire Survivors, so I want to give them a shout out for it. Hey, you made this really cool thing. You're not price gouging anyone. I think when they were like, okay, well, we're out of early access, so now we got to raise the price of our game. I think they raised it like $1. So it's like $5 now instead of $3 or $4 or whatever. But shout out to them for creating a genre and doing so well with just something that's so basic.
Yeah, I think those are some interesting picks, and I do think best developer is a pretty tough category to discuss because there are so many aspects we can come from. We could come from politics. We can come from best practices, maybe, or we can even come from accessibility, right? Like, what if a developer has made advances in accessibility to make more people able to access their game that couldn't in the past? That is a really good thing for a developer to do that would be worthy of praise of best developer. So I just kind of came from the CD Projekt Red angle of resurrecting Cyberpunk 2077 alongside doing a fantastic job with Edge Runners. And I think that mix of both of those just created such a wonderful September for me where, the weeb inside of me was like, Edge Runners is awesome, and then this game is awesome, and then look, like these characters, like I wanted to be in that world so bad. So that was kind of like a dual, hey, this developer, yes, fumbled the ball heavily, probably the biggest fumble in AAA history with the release. They kind of didn't give up on it, and they released a highly successful anime alongside with that. That really struck a chord with me. And going to the Riot thing, for me, Riot is not worthy of this yet.
Sure. Yeah.
They have phenomenal games. I'm addicted to like all of their games, all of them.
And Arcane, if you're going from that angle too, yeah.
And I'm super fearful with what happens when they launch their MMO. Like, where's my life going to go, right? But with that being said, I hate their UI. I hate that they cannot fix their client. I hate that the game crashes constantly in Valorant. I hate that I am bombarded with so many tokens. I don't even know what they do anymore. So that's a tough category. I'm going to give it to CD Projekt Red just because of that duality of, not even duality, that coupling of Cyberpunk projects.
I mean, I'm fine going that route too. And I think that when you take everything you said about Cyberpunk and then add on the whole like, oh yeah, by the way, here's ray tracing for The Witcher and redone textures and
free
enjoy
if you
all
are
this.
Free if you already own it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll go back to just giving one for this. I'm fine with it. Cool. All right. And then we have best soundtrack. We'll save the other one for last.
I got you. All right, so this was a tough one because some of the best ones are very similar in scope, just kind of these epic scores. Different styles, though, of course. So let me pull up my notes on this. So I was listening to a lot of music this week in preparation for...
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga factor into this at all?
I didn't.
Okay.
But I could see where you're coming from.
Well, I don't think it has an official soundtrack, which
Right.
is why I can be like,
Right.
oh, this isn't it.
Yeah.
But also, if you're going up against John Williams, I'm not
Yeah,
sure
like
you
of
win.
course, that was my thought. Like, okay,
Yeah.
well that counts.
Okay,
then
yeah,
it's
we'll
over.
just,
so it's like
we'll put that off the list. That's fine. Yeah.
All right. So what I wanted to mention first. So I try to, I haven't played all the games, of course, but I try to listen as much as I could. And I'm not gonna be able to mention there's a lot of great soundtracks. I feel like in today's world as well, like the audio game has gotten so much better, where you really just the improvements that made, like I feel like every game, like the bar is like higher now, so the standard's just better. So I want to point that out. So there's a lot of games that like have really good soundtracks that I might not mention. So first of all, I always give a lot of credit to soundtracks of like remakes and things of that nature, capturing the original feeling, that nostalgia, while putting a modern twist on it, and incorporating those new elements. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles soundtrack was just right up my alley. It did such an amazing job of invoking those feelings of playing it at the arcade, the show itself, like the cheesy songs from the show and things of that nature. So I did want to like point that out. The music's really good. It's catchy. It's arcade style. It's gets you pumped, and I really enjoyed that quite a bit. So I want to give a shout out to that. But then you talk about some of the bigger hitters here. Elden Ring soundtrack is just epic. If I had to, like,
I think it should have beat God of War personally.
Yeah, I mean, this is really tough for me because like when it comes down to it, I tried to go a route where it's like I listened to Splatoon, I listened to Ollie Ollie World's like really interesting soundtrack. Yeah. The electronic music in that is really cool. And I think it invokes like a specific feeling to that game. So that was like something I was considering, but like I couldn't get away from like what the Game Awards mentioned because I just think that those were so well done. There's so many really great composers that just wrote some amazing music in these big hitting games. So really the ones I decided upon was like Elden Ring, epic score, amazing sense of scope that you can derive just from the music itself. Like the scoring of it is like so it's so incredibly like large, like adventurous and kind of mysterious at points. It's like really cool soundtrack. I really enjoyed that one. God of War is amazing as well. The choir is like I like was trying to look up like who they got for that because it is unbelievable. Like they are amazing. Yeah. The men's choir they got for that. And again, amazing job of reflecting what the game is through the soundtrack, right? I think to me, God of War does it a little bit better.
Oh, you like God of War more?
Yes, because I think that I feel like I'm in Norse mythology when I'm hearing that epic soundtrack. I feel like, and specifically the character themes as well. Mm-hmm. I think having those I know Elden Ring does have like specific boss themes too, which are great. But the character themes, you have a theme for Thor, you have a theme for Odin, Kratos, all these themes, I think were really well done. And I always appreciate that when you can attach an audio component to a specific character. I think it really opens it up with that.
Imperial March it.
Exactly. Yeah. So to me, I think it's God of War.
Wow. Okay.
But I do want to shout out Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I was listening to that soundtrack too.
Right?
It was really well done. It was really well done. But I just think the quality of God of War, like the actual performance, along with the pieces that were written, along with that component of the characters, the theme of the game, the Norse mythology, I just think that was my vote.
God of War, if you had to pick like favorite track, for me personally, God of War would win that because you get that chill whenever and it's just like, oh man, that's pretty good.
It is, yeah.
But when I'm listening to like the entire soundtrack, I don't know, I was gravitating more towards like an Elden Ring, just kind of like, okay, just leave this on in the background and just enjoy it.
Elden Ring's fantastic. I also want to shout out Tunic. Very relaxing.
Yep. So Tunic was
very
relaxing.
Ethereal, kind of. It was a cool vibe.
I thought I was going to fight for Neon White, and I listened to the Neon White track. And while it's so good in that game, I would never listen to that on Spotify.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And because I would just be like jittery the whole time. But I think you're right. Tunic is a good one, and I think Stray both have like these really chill kind of like
Stray
vibes.
was really unique. That was a very
fits
interesting
really
one.
well in the
I'd have to play.
environment.
It was tough for me because I'd have to play that one. Like I have a better idea of the other games, but yeah, that was another interesting one. I was pretty fascinated.
Did you listen to Rogue Legacy 2 at all?
No.
Yeah. So my pick is actually going to be Rogue Legacy 2 if you're going to go with God of War, because I'm pretty sure I know where Jeff is going to go.
Yeah.
But Rogue Legacy 2, the thing that stood out to me is they had so many different tracks.
Yeah.
Ranging from like super fast and light and funny and mysterious and gloomy and like jazzy. Like it's like 25, 26, because like obviously video games have a million tracks in them.
Right.
But like they somehow still all felt like they were from the same game. And like it just worked really well. But the last track on the Rogue Legacy 2 soundtrack you should listen to, and I'm just like, it's actually pretty good. But that's my kind of weird pick, but I enjoy that.
I
a
like
lot.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you can genres like that.
When you can do...
And make a connecting thread.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you have 25... I think it's like 27 tracks. And it's like, you have 27 tracks. I'm going through each one. I'm like, this is good. This is good. This is good. And it's just like, man, just from volume, like, how do you still have the mental capacity to compose all this stuff? It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that you guys were able to talk about this category to such length, because I probably struggle with this category the most. For some reason, soundtracks in games do not resonate with me as much as other media. Like, I can listen to an album or something like that and really connect with it. Even the Black Panther Wakanda Forever soundtrack, that was awesome. And I left that movie theater like, wow, that really gave that movie life. For some reason, I struggle with that in video games. Yes, I can think of some themes like the Halo 3 like theme, or
Skyrim,
or even like you guys mentioned some stuff in God of War that I remember, like those really bassy horns and things coming in. But I'm picking TNMT Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I think that game sucks. I think TNMT Shredder's Revenge is an awful game. I think I gave it like a 62 or a 67. I think it is really bad. Some things that are awesome about it are absolutely the soundtrack and some of like the art choices. And I think that is what only kept it alive for me. And what you mentioned, John, about transporting you back to nostalgia, or Saturday morning cartoons, or watching Street Sharks and like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or I think of like the X-Men opening of that cartoon, which is iconic, and it's like I want it as a ringtone. For some reason, TNMT just really struck me when I stopped playing that game. It's probably what kept me playing that game, because I think other things just really fell flat for me. But the soundtrack definitely helped strike that nostalgia chord.
We played that one night. And we were like, yeah, we'll come back to this. And nope.
Well, I mean, it's more of the same, right?
Yeah. We told you, like, we did the arcade and it just died. Yeah.
So
it's like no,
everyone
I'm not
stopped.
gonna play that.
Yeah. That was unfortunate.
Yeah. All right. And then the last category we have before our top 5. Bear with. We're almost there. Best game to play while eating Doritos while drinking Mountain Dew.
Yeah, I guess I'll go first for this one.
Yeah,
This was tough. There's a lot of games that come to mind, when we're thinking about this category. But at the end of the day, I think like something like Stray really, fits this one perfectly.
Go home.
It's Call of Duty, right? I mean, it's. Do they still have the double XP?
Yes,
absolutely. That's so good.
Absolutely, they do.
We were like coming up for categories for this, and I was like, it was pretty late, so I get silly when it's late, and I was like just coming up with these goofy categories, and I came up with this one. It's like #sponsored.
No, it's staying, but Call of Duty is
There's something about
Call of Duty owns Mountain Dew and Doritos.
Every time a new Call of Duty comes out, I find myself drinking so much more Mountain Dew. It is an amazing partnership.
For years and years. That was what, Modern Warfare 2? Was when it, like, the original?
Yeah, I think so. I remember there was a big campaign for Modern Warfare 3. Like, I had so many Modern Warfare 3 Doritos bags.
Yeah.
It's like disgusting. Oh my god. Oh well. Well, probably my favorite category.
great.
Jeff, I don't know if you have a different answer.
I mean, when I think about this category, I'm not specifically aiming at Doritos. I'm trying to think like, what game do I play that stacks up the most dishes, plates, and glasses on my computer desk, right? Like, and how long do they stay there?
Category. That's a good
You
category.
know what I mean? Like,
category.
where, like, do they stay a day? And I'm not saying I do this. I'm not saying I don't do this. Do they stay 2 days?
Oh, I know what's coming.
You know, do I forget about that fork or that spoon and bowl underneath the desk? Does that happen? I don't know. I'm not there. But
Could not.
Who's to say?
Yeah.
who's to say? And that's World of Warcraft. Of course it's World of Warcraft.
yeah.
I'm raiding. I don't have my 5-minute AFK for the 4-hour raid night. So what did the plate sits there? It's got to be World of Warcraft. I can't leave my desk.
I love your spin on this category.
you are
Where I
a
thought there was
ridiculous
only
man.
one
Yeah,
answer,
suddenly.
he comes in with a fantastic answer. So that's really good.
Oh my goodness.
All right, we might be setting a record for this one, Ty. But,
For the length of the podcast.
yeah.
Yeah, here we go. All right. So all the categories
Yeah.
are complete. Now we need to do the top 5 video games of the year.
yeah.
Which we threw Jeff a curveball because I think you came with one.
Yeah, I thought we only needed one. I was like,
All right. So here's
fine.
what we're gonna do. We're gonna start throwing some names down on here. I think it's safe to say God of War will be on the list.
Yeah, I think I heard of that one.
Do you both consider Horizon
Horizon's my number
on the
5.
list?
Personally, yeah, I think it should make it. Especially since it's been so overlooked. Like, it just... Didn't the first one come out in 2018? Or am I...
The first one, the first one was overshadowed by,
God of War, Red Dead 2.
I think so.
No, the first Horizon was overshadowed by a little game called Breath of the Wild.
That's
Oh,
right.
2019,
that's right,
2019,
that's right.
yeah. Breath of the Wild and...
Yeah, it was God of War and then Horizon.
Spider-Man or no?
Spider-Man also, yeah, because it was a triple thing where I platinumed all 3 of those.
That's cool.
Anyways, yeah. All
Okay.
right, so I think Horizon should be on there.
I think it should.
I mean, that's the thing is like
Yeah.
we're gonna kind of pick and
Yeah.
choose here, but God of War, Horizon, Elden Ring
Yeah.
are all on the list.
The heavy hitters.
I want to maybe we just keep kind of going around, kind of throwing some stuff up there, and then
Okay.
when we feel good, we can feel good.
Yeah.
I want to talk about. Well, I want to put Neon White on the list. I feel like we've talked about Neon White quite a bit. But again, I think it's in terms of a solid game, both in like the story is actually there. Like I was
Right.
actually intrigued by the story. I think it's a cool premise. I'm not a big anime guy, but like it was anime. All the characters were well written in a very it fit the game. Do I love the dialogue? Is it as serious as it could be? No, but it hooked me enough in the perform. I mean, Jeff Bloom was the main character, right? So like
Yeah. It's
you
hard to-
got that. Yeah,
hard
like
to-
it's good. It's
Yeah.
good voice acting there.
Jeff Bloom?
Jeff Bloom?
Steve?
Steve Bloom. I'm sorry. Steve
Right?
Bloom. Yeah, you're right. Steve Bloom.
Okay. I was like,
Yeah,
that's Jeff.
Steve's brother. He's very good. He's also on there.
just good, yeah. All right.
Yeah. So
Do
I'd
we
like
want
put
to
Neon
talk
White on
about
there.
a Call of Duty? I feel like we've mentioned
We
it
can-
quite a bit.
I'm just
It
putting
might just
stuff
be a
on the
little
list, man.
Fringy pick.
That's what we do. We throw it. We
See what sticks.
throw it up there,
Yeah,
and we
all
start.
right.
We start.
I don't know if
cutting.
that's. I know we roasted it for a while, but it's
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of. Got to take the good with the bad.
anything you're thinking of, Jim?
Yeah, Jeff.
I am removing World of Warcraft. It will not be on the list.
Okay.
Thank God.
God of World of Warcraft Dragonflight is my number 3 game of the year.
Okay.
However, I must say that this is another World of Warcraft. If you are not into World of Warcraft, you're not going to be into this.
Yeah.
I am super into it, so of course it's going to be on my list. I do not think that being on Game of the Year represents a fair, top 5 of the year. Because it's incredibly personal. A lot of people aren't going to have the same grouping experience that I have. They're not going to have the time to dedicate to it. So I do not want Dragonflight on the overall list. If I'm going to fight for anything, I'm going to fight for Cyberpunk Next Gen Update, even though it's cheating. So if you don't want to throw it up there,
the top 5.
that's fine. Then my picks are just Elden Ring, God of War, and Horizon.
Okay,
Okay.
I can deal with that.
Can we?
Silent-
Throw
I think
in,
Call of Duty could make it.
Yeah,
Can we throw in Vampire Survivors?
I think it's a conversation. Yeah,
Because that game's awesome. And everyone should play it.
Yeah, and it gets a little tricky too, considering like a lot of us didn't have some overlapping stuff. So like I would love to call out Splatoon 3. I like that's in my top, but you guys haven't played it.
Yeah.
Splatoon 3 is very good. Plague Tale, I still like that opening is still like I don't want to oversell it, but it's still in my top 10 because I just keep thinking about it. I think Tunic is phenomenal. I don't think Tunic got nearly enough love as it should have just because of everything else that came out this year.
Right.
But specifically the way Tunic did their map and their menu, and like I said, like no words or anything, and the whole tutorial thing is like you just find pages of an old school like NES manual that just show you how to play the game. If you know how to play the game, you can do that the moment you start the game. There's no like gating there, more or less. So it's like, oh, I didn't know that if I hit these 3 buttons at the same time, I do this ground pound that opens up this gateway. You could do that 5 minutes into the game, but you don't find out till like 5 hours later.
Right.
So I thought that was just really, really brilliant. Again, Strange Horticulture, very, very fun. I wish there was more of it or some sort of like endless mode because I just felt it very relaxing. But it had a really cool story about like demons and fighting things, and you have to like find different plants for different people and stuff. It was just a bizarre game that like I found myself continuously thinking about. We'll kill that off the list. The same with Rogue Legacy 2. It's a better version of Rogue Legacy. I don't know if you ever played that. Do you ever play Rogue Legacy?
I didn't, but I played this version, and it was great.
Yeah.
Very enjoyable, but...
Is it top 5? Yeah.
I really think you're onto something with Tunic, especially a game that does something very unique with its approach of pretty much the core mechanic of it. I would totally support Tunic being on there. I really struggled with it because puzzles and me don't mix, kind of like the same with Jon. So I spun my wheels. I probably ran around that map 4 or 5 times and I couldn't figure out where to go. But I think that it is a fantastic
I think it does one thing really well, which is that menu system. I think it's clever, but honestly, I think the boss fights are actually like when you beat one, you feel pretty good about it. However, it's also like you run around for an hour and don't know what to do. That's frustrating as heck, like for sure. And then it's not even like this aha moment of like, oh, that's so cool, and it's just like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Like that's just that. Like that. So. Is it top 5 contender? I feel like we have others on the list that I'm sure everyone's more passionate about, but I did want to call that one out. And then the only other 2 that I have on my list I really at least wanted to talk through, Call of the Lamb. No one really talked about that over the Game Awards. I thought Call of the Lamb was pretty good. I thought it was a cool premise to literally just like save cultists, cultivate a cult. And like you're like sacrificing them and like keeping them alive, like well past their years, just so they can like work for you and stuff. I think the thing that killed me with that game is there was no incentive. Like I thought it was something like I just get all my cultists, and then that's like the game, and then the end game is me like building this amazing cult. But it's just like once you beat it, you kind of beat it, and it's not like maybe that's just my own internal problem, but if I like a game, I want it to continue forever. And if there is no option for that, I start like not enjoying the game as much.
Interesting.
So that's why I Call of the Lamb. It's like it's on my list because I thought it was good and clever and fun, but it is also fairly low. And then finally, Tinykin, which I don't think you guys.
I did not get a chance.
It's on Game Pass. It is. People refer to it as like almost like a Pikmin, but it's really, really, really good. And while I'm not saying it has like the best soundtrack in the world, the way it uses audio cues based off of like it's like has like the same theme throughout a level, but based off the location that you're in, it changes the theme, and you're like this little tiny guy in a big world. So like you have the theme going on in the overworld, and then if you go inside of a piano, now the theme flawlessly changes to a person playing a piano, and it was so clever, and it made me like actually stop and be like, oh, that's really cool. And the art style is really good, and like the collectathon is really good, and it's super clever with the puzzles. It reminded me a lot of Spyro, oddly enough, like when you're going around trying to find all like the hidden gems and things like that. In all honesty, I would probably fight for Tinykin over Tunic. That's how much fun I had with that game.
Well, where are we? What about Splatoon? Is this being thrown up there?
I do like Splatoon, but I could I could get behind Call of Duty. Like if we're talking top 10, I'd be fighting pretty hard for Splatoon. But we're talking top 5. I feel like Call of Duty, despite all its flaws with like performance, it gives you more. Like it has a campaign that's passable and pretty good. You get the Warzone, you get the new DMZ, you get the friend like. Call of Duty.
I get it.
There's a reason why we
stopped
stopped playing Splatoon because Call of Duty came out. Splatoon's great, but yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and take Tunic off. I mean, we can't. Okay, all right. So,
well, hearing you talk about Tunic's always pretty interesting.
No, Tunic.
Is it going to be top 5? Probably not.
Tunic's one of those games that I pulled a Nate, like, hey, come check this out before you did, and just kind of show it to you. It's just because it's clever. Like it was a really neat thing.
I did like that.
I'm trying to think of Hyperlight Drifter. Did you ever play that one?
I certainly did.
Yeah, I mean that's basically the same thing.
Now that's a soundtrack I can get behind.
Yeah, Hyperlight very good.
There you go.
All right, anything we're missing? What else we got?
Not that I can think of.
I mean, looking at this list, I'm seeing what it is. I feel like I see it. I just don't know
the Matrix one.
What wins. Neon. I don't know what makes the list: Vampire Survivors or Neon White. In my opinion, this is not in order, but I see God of War, Horizon, Elden Ring, Call of Duty, and the slot that's up for debate is for either Neon White or Vampire Survivors. That is, judging from our conversation, that is what I see the list being made out as.
That's an easy decision for me. As much as I love Vampire Survivors, I think Neon White is the package. I think
Tyler has been talking about Neon White for so long.
I do not like leaderboards because I am not good at things and I don't like to not be the best at something.
Right.
Like that's just me being purely transparent, right? So like Neon White is the first, and maybe I'll start hating Neon White whenever you guys start playing it, just absolutely trouncing me. But like Neon White's one of those games that if you were to tell me, hey Tyler, you want to play this thing? It's like it's a speed running game. No, like absolutely. Oh, and you pick up card. Like the moment you talk about cards as a mechanic in a game, I immediately shut it off.
Same.
Even though like there are plenty of games that like Monster Train and stuff, they're good. It's just like I hate that aspect. It's been so overdone. But if you'd say cards in speedrunning in anime, that's this game. And somehow I'm like, I freaking love this game. Like that's gotta count for something. That's me.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
No, I'm not going to argue with that. You, like you said, you literally got it on the checklist of everything Tyler hates about games.
But then
you
somehow
like it.
creates the perfect game. That's just
I can't wait to play it.
Tyler also Tyler will try to get you to play games sometimes, but this is like the first time in a long time where he was like, guys, please. I just need to see someone else on my leaderboard.
I can't just be me, no one else, and like the developers. Like that's like, and I don't like dealing with random people, which is partially why I don't get into World of Warcraft. Mm-hmm. That's partially why I don't get into like Guild Wars and all of those stuff. But like, that's me going onto just random message boards and be like, "Oh, add me as a random Steam friend," so I could see something on my leaderboard.
That's what you've done.
Wow. No, but I was thinking. That's what I mean. It's like that got me as close to anything as like reaching out to strangers on the internet. To play. But yeah,
I'm down for it. I'm down for Neon White.
I'm fine with Neon White being 5. If it's on the list, like I'll take it. Unless you guys have,
I think I'm completely fine with it being on there.
Yeah, I think 5 is a nice spot.
Okay,
Tyler's spot.
So then we have God of War, Horizon, Elden Ring, and Call of Duty.
I mean, to me, I would put Call of Duty 4, because while I've had a lot of fun with it and really awesome experiences, there are those detractors that we were talking about throughout the episode. So I feel like that can't be overlooked. To me, I'm like, yeah, there's too many negatives to put it top 3, but the positives are good enough to get it top 5. That's kind of how I'm viewing it.
I think in the 4th spot is great for Call of Duty, and I can't believe that I'm saying that, being someone who hasn't played a Call of Duty game since college, just because I fell off of that formula very, very early on. I'm kind of like in the boat where you guys understand my MMO thing. I feel like I understand your Call of Duty thing through the way that you guys talk. So I think that Call of Duty, and you can't argue with sales numbers. This game, Call of Duty is it the highest grossing franchise? It has to be, just from number. I'm sure Grand Theft Auto maybe has outsold it per title, but I think Call of Duty is the highest grossing franchise. It has to be, because they put one out every year.
It has to be up there. I know Minecraft was in contention for that.
With one game.
I mean, Minecraft's just...
Minecraft is nuts.
That's a different...
breed.
That's a different level.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay,
So,
I'd be okay with that.
All right.
I obviously haven't played Horizon, so I can't speak to that. So if you guys both think Horizon... Well, I guess really you'd be the only one that can kind of compare and contrast the two.
Yeah, I think Horizon's a better game than
Okay.
Call of Duty for sure. There's just like not a lot of. I know Jeff had like his struggles with the gameplay, but to me, like Horizon just does everything pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just solid overall. There's no menu
Yeah.
disaster.
No.
Just big.
I like Horizon at number 3. I did have my hiccups with it. I was just, maybe it was more of a disappointment and less of a hiccup. I thought that it was presenting me with an option to play this game exactly how I would want to, and then they kind of didn't deliver on that. But once I fell back into my bow strategy, how you are probably meant to play this game, I think Horizon does what it does extremely well. It makes it feel really good to kill those dinos.
Yeah, I'm always a bow person, so it just kind of the stars kind of aligned for me, and I was like, this just feels fantastic. And then, like I said, this story was just really, really great.
Do we feel that Horizon is number 3?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have Elden Ring as like a 60, so
Yeah, and I can talk about that because, like, on my personal top 10, I actually put Neon White as number 1.
wow.
Yeah. So
That's your best game this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here's my thought on that. Where do I like Elden Ring? No, but I cannot deny the feeling it gives me. Jeff, you mentioned earlier that it was like the best open world experience, right? And I know people compared it to like Zelda and different things like that. I think it is. I agree with you. It is the best open world, mainly because Zelda still puts guardrails on you. They still, okay, well, you have to go around this thing before you get the parachute together, like that kind of thing. Where Elden Ring is just, nah, here you go. Just go nuts.
Good luck.
And it's just scary, right? Because even if it's like a little mouse in a hole, there's a 90% probability that thing can just murder me. Or a little white rabbit like the, Monty Python or something like that. So while I did not like Elden Ring for what it is in terms of like difficulty and not really giving you the narrative short of you like having to like comb for stuff and kind of piecing it together yourself, I do respect the heck out of it in terms of I don't feel jaded with that game specifically. Where God of War, I feel jaded, right? Like I like God of War a lot. We can certainly make the argument of it being top spot. Same with Horizon, different things like that. But God of War 2018 felt really good. I enjoyed where it was going. But now the second one, it's like I still feel I've seen this before. I think I know where this is going. Elden Ring is so dense and open and gives you nothing and demands everything. It's like that's kind of like this unexplored, terrifying frontier that will I ever go back to? Probably not. I'll probably watch John play it. But in the back of my mind, it's like if I ever want to have that weird, like, little kid, like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? That's Elden Ring. So that's why I'd be okay with it being maybe a number 2.
Oh, okay, all right.
But I mean, that's up to you if it's like a.
So we locked in Horizon at 3, right?
Well, I'm asking.
I think that's good. I think
it's
the debate is Elden Ring or God of War. Yeah, so
right, like,
I would like to hear Jeff's aspect here. You've played both to completion, so really you're the expert.
Now, for me,
Josh's like, don't give him the power.
God of War does something very, very well, and that is delivering a story that I love exists and I believe can only be told through video games. Maybe, okay, sure, there could be a TV series, but the way that you interact with these characters, the way that you view them from Kratos' angle and sometimes Atreus' angle.
Spoilers.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I think that God of War's narrative hides many of its flaws. And I think some of its flaws are mainly in its progression system, in its combat, and in some of the way it delivers a lot of these, I don't want to say baked on sides, but like these accessories and these relics and all these different customization.
The UI is bad.
It's terrible.
It is very bad.
So when I open up my map and I'm looking for something and I close my map and then I try to reopen it, I don't want the menu to default back to my inventory. I want it to default to the last thing I had open.
So fun thing with that, you have to tap on the left side.
I try and it works like 1 out of 8 times.
No, it's not. It's not the left side. It's slightly left. So as long as you have it right in the middle, it can be done. And I completely agree with you. Like there should just be a button that you hit it goes up. But
but even aside from that, like you give me all these customization options. There's supposedly all these armor options, but at the end of the day, I'm having the most fun just with a shield out and punching the boss because that feels like the most fun for me. There's kind of a problem there, and I just don't understand some of the out of date combat systems. Like I understand what they're going for, but the execution doesn't hit for me, where they give you all these awesome combos, like switching through weapons, like juggling your enemies, but you can only do those on the not big baddies.
Fodder, yeah.
And then when you get to the boss fight, it's like, okay, they're trying to do this like really engaging, difficult boss fight, but you're attacking twice and then dodging, attacking twice and dodging, and you really only get a combo off from the beginning of the fight whenever you have a slight opening, where they give you these bosses, but you aren't able to use your arsenal against them, which feels really opposite to me. Where Elden Ring. Very little narrative, but I'm okay with it because the execution of this open world feels so good and the combat feels so good. And there's so much customization and there's so many weapons, and the event that Elden Ring created, this crazy end of February Elden Ring flu where everyone was talking about it. Everyone was playing it. Everyone was talking about what bosses they were on. Everyone was watching stream. Like people were streaming it that are normally only like League streamers or World of Warcraft streamers. Like everyone had their eyes on this game. Multi-platform too. God of War is only on PlayStation. Like that might be a little hit for a God of War.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah.
But for me, Elden Ring is number 1. God of War is number 2. If you guys feel like you're flip-flopping because you're not sold on Elden Ring, I'm okay with that because Elden Ring will always be number 1 on my list.
No, it's a good.
I mean,
argument.
Truthfully, how do you feel considering that we're talking about 2 games that you have not played?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the way Jeff describes it, I'm always more narrative focused. So, like, right. I know that I'm going to probably most likely enjoy God of War more because that's just what I gravitate towards, and I can forgive simplistic combat and those kinds of things
I would argue that it's not simplistic combat. I think it devolves into simplistic
right,
combat.
Okay,
but I think God
fair.
of War can be very complex combat. But in practice, unless you're on like some crazy hard difficulty that requires maybe certain combos that I found that it's like, I'm going to use my 3, I'm going to pop you up here, I'm going to do this, I'm going to kill you, move on. Like right. It's not, and I'm playing on like normal difficulty or whatever. So I don't know. Like it can be as complex, but kind of what we were talking about before, where it was like, here's everything you got in God of War 1. Plus, we're just going to add a lot more, not necessarily for the better. So I know I would like God of War to be 1, well, obviously.
Yeah.
But I can completely understand where you're coming from with a lot of that stuff. Now the thing that I don't like is the idea that like if you're hitting like the bosses, they just eat stuff, and I feel like that's the same with Elden Ring too, more or less, where like you're fighting these big things. You would think that like smacking them with your axe or giant sword or whatever should make them move in some way, because everything else in like God of War and like all the small guys, you smack them and they're going flying, or they react to your hits, where it's almost like, what are you doing? You're just like wailing on something for nothing. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I agree. I think you're in a much better position to speak to, because you played both. I mean, I've started God of War, but yeah, I'm not in it far enough to really give a.
I should not speak to Elden Ring.
I think I mean, that's the other coin that nobody wants to hear. But there are people out there who just don't like those kinds of games.
With this being the Couch Company podcast, I feel like it would be blasphemy to give the number one spot to Elden Ring. I just feel that way
too.
I think God of War
Game of the Year for
it.
Couch Company is Elden Ring.
It just doesn't make sense.
And we rated it as a 60.
The fact that it's on the top 5 means something.
It's insane.
But I feel like I can appreciate it. In terms of feeling.
Yeah.
Elden Ring has made me feel something that no other game, like, I mean, we're talking about best moments and feelings and different things like that. Elden Ring still makes me feel different than any of these other games. Like, I get terrified and excited, obviously right before raging and quitting, but like
in that order.
Even now, it's like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I could download. Do I really actually hate that game? You know, like, because I owned Dark Souls 2, 3, whatever, and it's like, yeah, I'll get Elden Ring. I think part of the reason why I was like Elden Ring's my most disappointing game is because everyone was like, well, if you don't like Dark Souls, you give Elden Ring a try anyway. I'm like, no, it's still Dark Souls. It's the same thing. It just is better open world. Anyway.
Yeah, I think Jeff makes a good point. I feel silly if Elden Ring was one. No, I do think we acknowledge, there's a reason there was such pandemonium over this game, right? Like Jeff describes it as like an event, right? And few times I feel like in the gaming sphere, a game just takes over completely.
I feel like we knew the cost of bringing Jeff on this episode.
Look, to ensure that people continue to listen to us, we had to bring an Elden Ring supporter on a Game of the Year conversation. Because if not, it would not be on the top 5.
And it would have been replaced by Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, exactly. So all right, so I think we're good to lock it in.
All right,
then?
we'll lock it in. At the number 5 spot, we have Neon White. Number 4 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Number 3 is Horizon Forbidden West. Number 2 is Elden Ring. And number 1 is God of War Ragnarok.
I feel like that's solid. I feel like, there's always, you have the, like in 2018, for example, when it was like Red Dead and God of War, I feel like ask a person, they'll pick one of the two, and you're like, I can see the argument for that, right?
I think it's tough when I look at this list, and I was, thinking about it throughout the week. These Game of the Years are always tough when there's such dominant forces, right?
Right.
It's tough to sneak in that indie. It's tough to sneak in that darling that, maybe didn't get crazy critical praise, but you absolutely fell for. Whenever you have God of War, Elden Ring, Horizon, and Call of Duty, and the only thing we could sneak in was Neon White, it is a difficult conversation to have sometimes. But I think this is a very solid list. I think it's a logical list. I think this list probably represents a lot of people's lists out there, but it's important that we had the conversation as to why they resonated with us.
No, I totally agree. Well, unfortunately, we didn't make it to the 3-hour point, which would have been special.
Just slowly give people
3-minute outro?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
No, we could end it right before 3. I will say, as a quick, because I know this is typically what you do, we are working on our website, so bear with us. If you want to see a sneak preview, if you go on there, couchcompany.games, a password will pop up. The password is EGGO. EGGO, all lowercase.
Of course it is.
A lot of lore ipsum. Like that's just like some Greek text for a lot of our reviews and things like that. But the podcasts are there. You can kind of see what the format is and kind of what we'll be putting on there. But
yeah, absolutely. And of course, huge shout out to Jeff for joining us today. Thank you, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Check out Jeff at twitch.tv/whatkilledjeff.
That is correct. We're starting Witcher 3 Remaster on Monday.
That'll be a good one. I mean, everyone loves Witcher 3. So thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us. And yeah, check us out on well,
Couch Company on Games.
Couch Company on Games, like Tyler said, we're excited for the website. And I think we have 1 or 2 more episodes this year. And then,
so we're recording a whole bunch here. So you already listened to the Christmas special.
Oh, I got it out of order. Whoops.
So right. Christmas special, we got this one, and then we'll have one next week.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the couch. We'll be here same time, same place next week. Peace.